matches a row, and then 16 we rose with the chip on our shoulder that everyone knows. I stand with the faithful, the loud and the loyal, on Michigan soil where the battle lines coil. I pledge allegiance to the shield and the mane, through the lake effect snow and the November rain. One nation under God, moving the chains, with the fire of the city coursing through our veins. Hey, invisible spirit, upon them will crack. We got the whole league's targets on our back. Watch the war room flicker, watch the vision take hold, turning late round flyers into Detroit gold. He's the master of the board, the dealer of the deck, putting every expert opinion in check. Put every expert opinion in check. He doesn't follow trends, he creates the hook. Quiet in the room, let Brad cook. To the trenches we swear, where the dirty work's done, where the game isn't played, it's physically won. I promise to roar till my vocal cords fray, to believe in the homes and the Brad chosen way. We don't want the flash, we don't want the glitz, just the hunters who thrive in the heart of the grit. Liberty from the cellar, and justice for the years of pain. No more same old lions, just the kings of the northern reign. I pledge my allegiance, my heart and my roar, to the team that we love and the team we adore. With kneecaps for breakfast and victory in sight, we're the Detroit Lions and we're winning tonight.
All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Rise of Grind morning show. Man, we got a lot of news to talk about today. A few headlines kicked off late last night. Obviously, I put it down last night, man. I was done for the night, but Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams in the headlines again. This time, he's the plaintiff. He's not the defendant for once. So whether that's good, bad, or distraction for the season, we'll find out. I don't like distractions, but I do like Eric Rintamaki. Good morning, man. How are you?
I'm great. So I got to tell you, congrats on the interview with Skyler Gil Howard last night. And I watched it. It was awesome. There's just one question you didn't ask that I
It's a lot of questions I didn't ask, but yeah.
But there was one that you should have asked. What number are you going to wear on that jersey?
Oh, yeah. I don't think they know, man. I mean,
I want to get one ordered.
Yeah, I get it, but they don't even know. They probably won't know until they get through, the first part of camp and all that. But
maybe next week.
They report on the 10th, so that information I got out that they report on the 10th, and I didn't ask that question, during, but I mean, at least that's info for us, right? That they're going to be rocking and rolling on the 10th of April. I apologize about the cameras. So I'm trying to marry up two cameras and they're just not working for some reason. So I got two totally different colors. And I noticed that last night during the interview. I was battling all these technical issues. I think no one really knew. But during that interview, I had nothing but technical problems going on. So towards the end, I really could have stretched that out to an hour. He gave me all whatever time I needed. And I started having more issues. I'm like, damn it, I gotta end this thing because something's gonna happen. And I didn't want it to happen. But that interview last night, one big shout out to Young Buck, the agency, and his agent. Really, really appreciate them making the time, responding, very timely, very professional. Can't thank them enough for giving us an opportunity to share who Skyler Gil Howard is with his new fan base. And his agent is Dalton Klauser. And I am going to have Dalton on too. So I did request to have an agent come on to kind of just make the fans a little bit more educated, about the process and what these guys go through. I mean, obviously they're not going to give us, the dirty details or anything, but I think it would be a good interview to at least, understand from an agent's perspective what these players go through, year in and year out, especially coming out of the, college, your last college season, going into the combine and into the draft and, how much they have to manage. I think that it would open up some eyes to how difficult it really is, especially in that first season for a lot of rookies to rebound and get ready for the season, because this is their hardest season. Coming off of what could be a normal college season, or you could be going deep into the playoffs now because the playoff situation has changed with how many games and teams there are. And apparently the NCAA is about to do the same thing with women's and men's basketball. They're about to expand it to 76 teams or something like that. So it's not easy on these guys. And so I wanted to have him on and at least have the conversation. But I need you guys to submit some questions for this next one. I'll let you guys know when it is ahead of time. Yesterday happened very fast. I got the email, or I got the text like super early, and then we put everything together in a couple of hours. So hats off to them. And Skyler Gil Howard, man, I don't know about you, but I think that, yesterday I gave everybody a little tidbit of info that I felt there was going to be a change in this defense this year. I felt that way for a while. I felt that way for many reasons, but mostly because of the linebackers and in noticing the change last year. Yesterday kind of confirmed it for me in multiple ways. One, my guy told me that it sounds like the Lions are all about no leaks. Apparently there's been some leaks and they want everything buttoned up. I'm not saying I'm the root of the problem with the leaks, because I won't do that to the Lions. I won't leak things that are, extremely important. Maybe that makes me a bad person, or maybe not a good enough person. I don't know. I just won't do it. I feel like, I pay enough money and invested into this team enough. I don't want to put something out there that could ever damage the team, right? Or damage their ability. But it sounds like this whole offseason program is geared around no leaks. They don't want anything going outside the building. There's going to be some philosophy changes potentially to the defense. Now, I'm not saying they're going to a 3-4, but they could be doing some things a little bit differently with their sub packages, their personnel. And I think the body types and sizes speak to that, especially with a guy like Tyree West, who's 276 pounds as a defensive lineman. That's pretty light, and that's more of an edge, weight, if you will, not defensive tackle. And then Skyler Gil Howard. He's a little bit undersized, depending on how you look at a 4-3 base. Oftentimes those guys are, 300 plus, and he's right around 285, 290, and he's a former linebacker. And he put on 50 plus pounds just to go play, for was it Northern Illinois, I think it was. And it's worked out because the dude's still running a 4.63 and he's not getting tired, as he said. And I think that that's going to open up a giant window for the Lions this year in a lot of their sub packages, the NASCAR package for sure. I think that this guy's going to come in and have a good career, but a good season. Needs to stay healthy. And then I don't think he's going to get overlooked at Detroit, because he got overlooked at Texas Tech. And man, I think sky's the limit for him. So what did you take away from the interview?
Don't sleep on this dude. That's what I took from this interview. Got me excited for the season, just to get to know our
205th pick.
Our 6th round draft pick. Got to know him a little bit. And, most people say that, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks are just throwaways. But you know what? We need rotational people. And doesn't it seem like you were talking with Brad Holmes taking all these guys that are 270, 280, 290, They're not quite big enough to be a DT at like 300, 310 pounds, and they're not slim enough for an edge at like 265, 270. They're somewhere in the middle. Doesn't it seem like Brad is trying to find the next Aaron Donald type tweener?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. I think that, I mean, Aaron Donald was still 300 pounds, 3+, and he was 6 foot, I think 6 foot, not over 6
Coming
foot.
out, though, wasn't he like 280, 290?
I don't remember when he came out, or
He
came
was-
into the league, but
He was light in the pants for a defensive.
yeah, he was a little bit light, but I mean, he was smaller. He had a more, shorter or narrower frame, if you will. I saw there was a quick question maybe in the chat. Robbie, is that a question? Like, what is a NASCAR package, or what's the question? Just let me know what the question is. If you want to know what the NASCAR package is, in a 4-3 base defense, a NASCAR package is pretty much this. You're putting a pass rush sub package, in the game where you're getting lighter, faster, more explosive, 4 defensive end, putting 4 edge rush, I guess, body types in the game versus your bigger guys. So you'd be taking out Aleem, taking out Tyleek, and putting in Tyree, putting in Ahmed Hassadine, putting in Aiden, putting in, even Skyler Gil Howard, or the lighter guys, the guys that are twitchier, faster, more get off, more sideline ability. You'd leave Jack Campbell in. You'd go with your faster linebacker. I would prefer to put in 3 safeties in that situation, but that doesn't always mix. And you're just getting after the quarterback, but you're trying to rush with 4. I think that, instead of the 4-3 where it's DE, DT, DT, DE, it's edge, DE, edge, DE, edge, and edge. So imagine Derek Moore drops back as an off-ball linebacker. Jimmy Rolder has a little bit more speed than some of the other guys. I mean, he's not the fastest guy in the world. You could put him in, and then Jack Campbell, and then you could roll them up to the front. You could even go 3-4 if you really wanted to, and you could still put Tyleek or Aleem in the middle, and then put your lighter, faster guys in. The goal is to crease those holes, right? Get through the creases and get after the quarterback. So I love the NASCAR package. I mean, if you think about when we ran it, I think a little bit more, it would have been Aiden, Marcus Davenport when he was healthy, Josh Paschal, those types of players that would have been in. From a body size standpoint, but speed is what you're looking for. Obvious passing downs is when you do the NASCAR package, and I think that it's really built to attack the protection rules of the offensive line, and you're trying to break it apart. The one thing that I really learned from the interview yesterday, which I'll send you my question template, Eric. Like, I've got this question template that I've been building out. And I think it's just good for anybody to have that does podcasts. I mean, keep this in-house. Don't send it to anybody. Mm-hmm. But, when I get into asking questions, like I have like a 10-question template, like, the draft moment, kind of the human element to this, kind of what makes them tick, player identity, kind of learning a little bit about them. And I got off on my game right away. Well, the first couple of questions were fine, and then when the technical issue started to happen on my side, I was like, oh boy. First I had a mic problem, right? And then other things started to happen, and I was like, I had dropped frames. I thought I was going to lose it. So I kind of got off my game a little bit. But then I go into like the Lions fit, immediate impact, position-specific football questions, player-specific background questions, developmental questions, model influence. I didn't even get to that one. I didn't ask him who he models this game after, if there's anybody he looked up to. And then his rookie season, kind of the message to the fans, was the last one, which I didn't frame it right. So my apologies, Mr. Howard. So anyway, I learned a lot about who he is as an individual, and you can tell right away just from listening to him talk. I mean, well-spoken, educated, smart. You could tell that he's got immediate, snappy answers, right? So that tells me that his processing is going to be pretty solid, and these are all just, quick takes. Like, it's not a definitive, right? The thing that I really learned is the guy's a provider, man. He wants to take care of his family. That's a Brad Holmes kind of guy. It's a Dan Campbell kind of guy. Someone that wants to take on the responsibility. And then when he's fighting to stay in football, like he was ready to quit. And that was early in his career. He was coaching, I believe, track. He was working at FedEx. He didn't get any offers at all. And then he walked on, and then he went to another college and walked on, became an all-MAC player. And then he, does a Power 5 portal transfer to Texas Tech. And then he gets an opportunity to play. And when he played, man, he was effective. But what I see from this player is somebody that was willing to put the work in, didn't allow any noise to ruin his day. He just continued to be him and continued to be the best he possibly could. And then, the fact that he turned out to be a leader, and Texas Tech, really voiced their admiration of him for his leadership. Man, I felt like all of those things that happened, and then your grandfather has the only Lions hat in the room, just out of the blue. This guy has a Lions hat on, and you get a call from Brad Holmes. It was meant to be, man. This guy belongs in Detroit. I think he fits the exact profile of a player that you're looking for from a culture, from an identity standpoint, and someone that is willing to come in, put their head down, put their work in, and just like he said, I'm going to come in and I'm going to work. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to work. I'm going to prove it to the guys around me, and at some point when I'm called upon or I'm needed, then, I will hopefully be in a position, right, to be a leader and help to lead. But he has the right attitude. It's just, the dude said he wants to play special teams, Eric.
Yep.
Wants to play special teams.
Yeah.
Like, you don't hear that much. Like, some guys love special teams because they're good at it. This guy's good at it. And he hasn't played it, he said, in a while. He's looking forward to it. So all the right answers and no chalk, man. I sent him the questions right about 1:30. I didn't send him all the questions because, there's going to be a little give and take. There's some pop-up things, but yeah, what a great dude, man. So congratulations again to Skyler Gil Howard. Hopefully we can get some more players interviews. I haven't reached out to everybody yet, but I will. I will start reaching out today and start sending some more messages. I got to reach out to all the agents. I just got to find the agents first. And,
my favorite part of his story was his grandpa having the Lions hat on. And that was the only hat in the house.
Yep.
I loved it. Fate. It was meant to be. So those are my kind of players. And I'm going to have to get me a Gil Howard hat, the exact same one his grandpa had, and get a jersey of his. Get it signed. Maybe get him to sign the dash of my truck. Have a player stick around longer than one season like a Meek did for me.
So there you go. Soli, I always butcher your name. I'm just going to call you Soli. Posted that Aaron Donald was 280 pounds when he entered the NFL. So, yeah, he bulked up to 300, but you could tell the speed was there.
He said that he played at 280 all the way through his career.
Oh, no, he didn't. No, he was 300 pounds.
Oh, I thought he was 280 all the way through.
He was 300 pounds. I remember a specific interview where he talked about bulking up. Might have been year 2 or 3. He probably didn't always play at 300. He's probably 295, 292, 298, somewhere in that range. But he did bulk up. I mean, you can tell. I mean, you look at him from a rookie. Go look at his rookie picture and look at him a couple years in. I mean, what a body transformation for Aaron Donald. And you're going to see that with a lot of these guys. And a guy like even Skyler Gil Howard, I mean, he's going to have a total body transformation, in the next couple of years. Look, I'm not saying he's going to come in and be a starter or something like that, but I think he fits a role on this team right away. He's got to earn it. It's a tough roster to make. He has to beat out guys like Levi Onwuzurike, right? He's going to have to beat out, what's the other guy's name? Lacey, right? You're going to have to beat out some of these guys to carve yourself a little niche on this team. The fact that he wants to play special teams and he's willing to play special teams and he's good at special teams, That, I think, gives him an extra opportunity to make this roster. Now, whether he makes the roster or he makes the practice squad, that's not a bad thing. You know what Dan always says, and I hope he doesn't say it this year, that all these guys are needed and going to be utilized. I hope he doesn't say that this year, because he said it 2 years in a row, and we had the most injuries ever 2 years in a row. So don't say it, Dan. I know what you're trying to say. I think we all get it. You need everybody. Just don't put it out there. Just don't put it out there. Anyway, good stuff by Skyler yesterday. Today got new overlay. You guys give us a thumbs up in the chat if you guys like the new overlay. We've got our sponsor that'll be in the middle here. I'll be running ads kind of throughout the show each and every day. If you want your company advertised there, just email me, mailbag@rockdown.com, and we'll get you taken care of. It's not expensive at all. Matter of fact, I'm probably 20 times cheaper than anybody else in this space, just because it's not about the money. It's about partnering with good companies. That's what it's about. It's about partnering with good people, good products, good companies, and just, helping the one cause that I'm really trying to attack, which is the Rockdown Cancer Foundation, and promoting thyroid cancer to help people get their early scans. Still working on Rhythm. Rhythm's coming along. So Rhythm is that wearable testing device that'll test all your blood. I should have some more information over the next couple of weeks, so that's exciting. And once we get that rolling, I'm hoping that we can get our golf tournament in this probably by June or July. We'll get a golf tournament in this year. So if you're a golfer and you want to be part of the golf tournament, there's going to be a sign-up sheet. I'll create like a Google Doc or something that I can just post somewhere on the channel, but it'll also be available in the DetroitFootballJournal.com. I just got to figure out how to make it happen, and I'll make it happen. I got a lot of irons in the fire, so just bear with me, but I'll get it done. And then also don't forget about Ride Together, Roar Together 2026 away game tour. We're going to do at least the NFC North opponents. And then I'm looking into the Miami game. I'm definitely going to go to the Miami game. My kids are down there, so we're going to make it a family event, and I think it'll be great. So the one question I still have, man, is who the hell are we playing in Germany? Like that's
I know it's not the Green Bay Packers.
Well, and it's not the Jets either.
Why not the Jets?
Because the Jets don't have an international game, as we know, for now. Unless that changes, I don't think they have an international game this year. So I think that would be the best game.
I do too.
Wow, are the Jets at home this year? Hold on.
See, until a couple weeks from now when the schedule comes out.
No, it's a home game. So we have a home game.
Yeah, in Germany.
In Germany.
Yeah.
So it would be a home opponent because we have 9 home opponents.
Yes.
This year. One is just in Germany. So we still have 8 games at home this year.
It'd be a bummer if it was the Vikings or the Bears, if it's a division game. They typically don't put division opponents together over there. It's usually like an AFC team.
Really? I thought we've seen a couple of interdivisional games.
No, because like the Lions played Atlanta over there.
Well, that was years. That was a decade ago.
Yeah, I know. But who else did we play?
It's changed. A lot's changed since then.
We haven't played overseas in 7 years.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So the Jets are a home team. So, I mean, I guess they still have an opportunity. Maybe it's the Giants. Maybe it could be the Giants. Maybe it could be the Patriots. I guess you got to look at what is the biggest presence overseas. Which teams have the biggest presence? And I would say the Jets are one of them. They have a big presence over there. I think the Vikings have a pretty big presence over there. I don't know. It'd be interesting. It was just on my mind this morning for some reason. Like, I just want to know. Just want to know who it is. Yeah. Let's talk about the news of the day, man. Let's get into a few headlines here. What broke last night. So first, we'll talk about Jahmyr Gibbs. Lions did pick up the 5th-year option on Jahmyr Gibbs and locking him in for 2027. It's about a $14.3 million guarantee. This is the cleanest and most important Lions contract signing, I think, of the offseason here. ESPN did report that Gibbs' option value at 14.3, while multiple outlets also confirmed that the Lions declined Jack Campbell's option, which I'm not surprised. I told you guys about that last week. But more on Gibbs would be, is it the right move? Of course it is. This isn't just a paperwork move. This is a move to keep Jahmyr Gibbs in-house and to get the longer-term deal signed. The goal, from what I understand, is still to get this deal done before Bijan Robinson. And whether that, gives him a contract that's more or less, we'll never know until Bijan's done. But especially after David Montgomery was traded, and I think that the structure of this back end of the offense was Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the lead dog from here on out for the next 4 seasons at least, you would think, with a 3-year minimum deal, including 2027. So he should be around at least until 2030, 2031, I guess would be my guess. But the position is now less of a running back by committee approach. I still think you're going to have a two-headed monster, and whether that two-headed monster changes from year to year, or maybe if Pacheco sticks around, if he works out this year, I do believe that the Lions are going to look for a running mate in the backfield with Jahmyr Gibbs. It was unfortunate that we weren't able to get one in the draft this year. I think there were some really good ones. I don't know why they didn't. I know we went just about all defense, but I don't know why we didn't, go after a solid running back in this draft. There were definitely some options there. The Lions are not paying Gibbs just because he's a running back. I think they're paying him because he's the offensive weapon that is going to unlock a lot of what Drew Petzing's offense is going to bring to the table. But I mean, you can't. I couldn't imagine Jahmyr Gibbs not on this team now after watching him for the last 3 seasons. Like he's a chain mover, man. He's exciting. He's like the Barry Sanders, the new Barry Sanders of the 2020s. So, what do you think about the Jahmyr Gibbs signing? How much do you think he gets? What do you think his contract ends up?
I don't know. What does Saquon get?
I don't know if Saquon really matters because, I mean, he was paid the most, which is right around $20 million a year, but that was just a 2-year deal, and it wasn't a post-rookie contract. You know what I'm saying? Like it.
Yeah. Somewhere between 14 and 20 million.
14 and 14?
Mm-hmm.
You think it'll go that low?
No, somewhere between 14 and 20. I'm guessing it's going to be more in the 20, because you lock him in for his 5th year for 14.3. So it's going to be more than that. So 20. I'm just going to say 20 million.
All right, we're going to put a poll in. We're going to go north of 15. Let's see if you guys know your math. North of 15, but under 17. We'll go north of 17, but under 19. And then we're going to do north of 19, but less than 21. And then we're going to do greater than, north than 21. Do I even know my math? That's the biggest question. Hopefully I use these right. How much does Jahmyr Gibbs get?
A lot.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. Yeah, so I'll tell you what Spotrac is saying.
$25.
All right, so Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, when you look at the contracts that are available this year, I guess let me start there. There's 6 running back contract extension candidates this year. One is Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously. The second one is Bijan Robinson. The third one is Devin Achane. Then you have Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, Chase Brown. Those were all the players that were expected, to get some sort of a contract extension this year that could be sizable. Maybe not Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs sizable, but sizable. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs' remaining contract year as of April, he had 2 years, $17.4 million. Spotrac valued him at 3 years, $60.6. So that is $20.2 million AAV. And I want to say that's exactly what Saquon got, was like 20.2, right in that range. 5,000 yards from scrimmage, 49 total TDs in his first 3 seasons, 77 receptions out of the backfield last year, or including 77 catches out of the backfield last year. Gibbs has really anchored himself as one of the most dynamic offensive weapons in the game today. The prediction is that Gibbs will secure a 3-year, $63 million extension following the draft. That was a prediction. That was prior to the draft. I still think it's going to be in that range. So my guess is going to be north of 21. I think he'll get north of 21. Nice. And if he doesn't, then Brad saved money.
Yeah.
Because he's worth it.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Got some new overlays this morning. Not all of them are ready to rock and roll, but we'll get it fixed later. We'll just go back to the other one. We'll just wait for him to get back. So north of 21 is my guess. 3 years is the typical. Most rookies don't want to sign more than a 3-year deal because then they could miss out on another 3-year deal, right? 3 years has kind of been the optimal, range of a contract extension, because then that puts him, what will he be? 20, 27, 28 at the end of that contract. And so he'll still be in line for another big deal, which will probably be north of $25 million at that point, given the way that the salary cap has been going up and up and every year. And then Bijan Robinson, he had 2 years, $15 million remaining on his contract. His valuation is lower than Jahmyr Gibbs, which I don't understand how it's lower. I'm not sure why. He has more yardage on the ground. He does have less TDs by 15. And he had 79 receptions last season. So, they're kind of neck and neck in that department. But there's really no reason to believe that he won't break, the biggest contract dollar amount. I don't see why these two players have a different amount. Like, if Bijan Robinson is valued less, well, his bar of entry, according to this, would be $62.5 million. So if Bijan is expected to get a 3-year, $62.5 million deal, that's where I'm thinking that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be north of $21 million. Either way, both of those players one of those players is going to be, atop the market. And then there's Devon Achane, which this is kind of the new floor for running backs that, are pretty good in the league. He's expected to get somewhere between 15 and 17 million, which I think is a lot of money for Devon Achane. Somewhere between 15 and 17 million. And I think, again, that's the bar of entry, and that's kind of where Eric was just saying. I think you said, north of 14 or north of 15? That would be Devon Achane money. And then Jonathan Taylor, who's 27 years old, so he's kind of at the other end of his cycle, right? He's getting into that, second or third contract, wherever he's at. He just completed back-to-back outstanding seasons in Indianapolis, and it's really set him up at 27 years old with 2 years, $32 million, or 1 year, $13 million left on his contract to get somewhere around $16 million a year, which maybe that's undervaluing him a little bit, but I don't think that he's going to break the bank and be the most expensive running back in the league. And then you have Breece Hall. He has 1 year, $14.3 million remaining on his deal. I think that, didn't the Jets just pick up his 5th-year option?
I thought they tagged him.
Oh, it was a tag then, wasn't it? Okay. So if he was tagged, then I guess that makes sense with that 14.3 mark.
He wasn't a first rounder. I thought he was second.
Oh, you're right. I think you're right there. So the Jets are in that same window with Breece Hall. Like, what are they going to do with his deal? but he's not expected to break the bank. But then again, Spotrac has him at 4 years, $62 million, which is $15.5 million. A 4-year deal, I don't see that getting done. I think it's going to be 3. And then there's Chase Brown, Cincinnati. He's 25 years old. He has 1 year, $3.6 million. He also had back-to-back breakout seasons. So he's set up for a nice payday as well. And he's looking at 4 years, $52 million. Again, I think it's going to lean on the 3-year deal. But either way, the floor in all of these deals is $13 million per year. And I think that the floor for the needle movers, the guys that are at the top of the league, is $16 million a year. And I think for Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, man, I really can't see anything under $19 million. I really can't. So we're going to have, that'll be like our 9th player that has like a max contract.
Ugh.
It's a lot of money, man.
Yeah. Having this draft where we had the 4 high draft picks that we got from the Rams and others, just having these 4 players that are all going to need to be re-signed, we may not be. I mean, I know Rod Wood came out a couple of weeks ago and said, "Oh, we're going to re-sign all 4 of them." I don't know how we can. We're literally going to run out of money. Brad Holmes is drafted so well, we're not going to be able to keep everyone. We're going to have to do a trade where we take a good player and trade them away because we can no longer afford to keep them. It's not that we don't want them as a player. It's that you have to stay under the cap. And when every player you have deserves to make top end money, well, then you're going to have to replace them with someone cheaper. You're not going to be able to re-sign all. I don't know if we re-sign all 4 of these guys. I don't know how we can.
Well, that's the problem we have. You know, we'll talk about Jack here in just a second. Just clear up a couple of things. So a 3-year deal with Jahmyr Gibbs, like right now he's under contract through 2027 with the 5th year option. And a 3-year deal on top of that, including that 5th year option. So it'd be 28, 29, and 30. So a 3-year deal on top of the 5th year option will keep him in-house through 2030. He will be an unrestricted free agent in 2031. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That'd be 8 years that Jahmyr Gibbs will be a Detroit Lion, or potentially be a Detroit Lion guaranteed. 8 years. Can you imagine? I just can't imagine already. We're talking about 8 years with a player that was just drafted in 2023. It just seems like it was yesterday. You know, it really does. It just seems like it was yesterday that we had that draft. And
this is season 4.
Time just flies, man. It really does. It does not slow down. You always heard that when you were young. Like, when you get older, make sure you do everything you want to do now, because when you get older, there is no clock. It's just flying. You know, time flies by when you get older. I never believed it, but now I believe it, because it seems like I wake up, it's a new week. What happened?
Yeah.
You know, what happened?
Yeah, and I can only hope that this year's draft class is like that draft class, similar, where you had Brian Branch get an interception for a touchdown in the first game. You had Jahmyr Gibbs score a touchdown in the first game. You had Sam Laporta hit the ground running. Jack Campbell took a little while to get going, but all 4 of those guys in their rookie year helped us get to the NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need this year. We need guys that help get us back to the NFC Championship game. Yeah,
I'm not as confident with you on this draft class. Like, I feel Blake Miller will. But outside of that, I mean, didn't you just send me something yesterday?
I don't know.
Somebody sent me something. Hold on.
I don't know. What did I send you?
Hold on.
I send all sorts of crap.
No, maybe it wasn't you. Somebody.
What was it about?
I'll get into it after we get into Jack. But somebody sent me something. I'll have to find it. Maybe it was in Boxer. Hold on. It was about this draft class, and somebody. It was about all the different takes. Damn it! Now I got to find it. It was really good. It had a lot of really good information in it, and it was kind of talking about the reach, a lot of reaches, for the Lions in the second and third round, with the Michigan guys, and one of them, like one of the agents, I guess, like totally felt that Moore was not a good player at all, like not a good player by any stretch of the imagination. And I think it was a scout, not an agent, that was saying that. So there's quite the disparity of takes on these guys. I still feel it was a reach, but the way that this came down, the way that it was said, it kind of opened up my thought process a little bit more. Like, what are we missing? You know, was Brad missing something? And then to your point, you know, you keep saying that Brad maybe drafted these guys just to shut up the fan base.
Yep.
Well, if that's the case, then did we get the right players?
And the media.
You know what I mean? Did we get the right players?
I was screaming for a different player when we picked in the second round.
Well, I mean, yeah, I was too. So someone sent me something. If it's one of you guys in the chat, tell me what it was, because now I can't find it. I don't think I deleted it. I was going to use it today.
Gaviscon says, I feel Brad put his head in the sand and didn't look at what others thought about the picks.
I would agree. He probably does that every year.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely agree with that. I'll try to find it, but there was like a multi-scout take on Moore, and it was not good. It was not good at all. So it's
but we can watch the highlight of him taking that super huge tackle from Miami and putting him on his back and pancaking him in the practice of the Senior Bowl.
Right, and that there was something mentioned about that too.
Yeah, that guy has horrible footwork and is very top heavy.
Well, so one of the comments was that he was not good at all during those practices, that he didn't stand out at all. That I think there was, I think the word ass was used, like he was ass in the practices and during that week. I mean, it was blurred out, so to speak. They used, exclamation marks or whatever. But it was a multi-scout report on Derek Moore. Got to find it. I swear it was somebody in the chat that sent it to me. We'll find it.
It'll be interesting to see how some of these other edge players that went right afterwards, how they do.
Yeah. But anyway, to what you just said, you said that you were hoping to kind of have the 2023 effect this year.
Yeah.
I don't see it. And the reason why is we got 4 first-round picks, 4 first-round grades in 2023.
No.
Right?
We'll never do that again. That's a once-in-a-lifetime draft. What I'm saying is that at least our first and second-round pick have, or this draft as a total, if you combine it all, that they have an effect on our team like that draft did. So what do I mean? I mean that we go back to having a dominant offensive line. We go back to having a dominant defensive line, and we get back to the promised land where we need to go.
I think that these players are going to be solid role players. Some of the ones we selected in the top 4. I think we're going to have some really good role players outside of Blake Miller. I think that he's going to be an exceptional right tackle. I mean, he's definitely a right tackle. He's not a left tackle. I don't know who brought up left tackle or why they thought that he was going to go to left tackle. That's not happening.
Who Who thought he was going to go to left?
That's not happening. He's a career right tackle guy. He does not have, in my opinion, he doesn't have the footwork to play on left tackle or to play on the left side and protect Jared Goff the way that Penei Sewell does.
I think he said in high school he played a couple of games at left tackle. And that was high school.
I think he even played a couple of times at Clemson. Yeah. I think he filled in a little bit. But anyway, let's get into Jack real quick, and then we'll get into all the other rubbish. So, Jack, now last week, I don't remember which show it was. I think I do know what it was. It was the video that I put out about extensions. And it was I think it was the nuclear option video with Jack Campbell. I think it was this one right here. I'll put it in the chat. I think it was that video right there where I mentioned that Jack Campbell's, and that was 10 days ago, that Jack Campbell's fifth year option was going to get declined. Now, well, Bernie tells me things when I ask sometimes. Well, he told me that it was likely that it was going to happen that way, simply because the money was just too much money. And the Lions can't really figure out a way to afford it without doing other things, robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's never a good idea because you're going to run into it at some point. The contracts are going to converge. And so it made sense when I heard it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. They pick up Jahmyr's, they decline Jack's. Makes sense. But what I said in that video is now you have the nuclear option available, which is you can tag them. And a tag is still going to be expensive in 2027, but it's there and it's available. And if you can't get a deal done, then you're going to have to do that because Jack is way too good of a football player to lose. Like, that is one you definitely don't want to lose. I hate to say it. I love Sam. I think he's a great player. Brian Branch is a great player. But I feel you can replace Branch, not so much Sam, if Sam's healthy. I think you can replace Branch. Maybe they already did. I don't know. We'll find out. If you had to lose one of those two and keep Jack, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for me. What about you? Would you be okay losing one or two of those players?
You're going to have to, and that's just the way I see it. Branch, Jack, or Sam Laporta, you're going to have to pick your poison.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have to lose one of those three players, you have to trade them away because you can't afford them. Which one do you want to trade away? And right now, I'm going to say Branch is probably the one that I trade away if he gets healthy this year. And I don't know how you get anything for a player, though, that is on the last year of his deal and coming off an injury. Same thing with Sam Laporta. You're trading them, and you're going to want to trade them after the season, but after the season, then you don't have them under contract anymore. So I don't know what Brad's going to do. This is going to be very, very tricky. So hopefully Rod Wood's right, and they get all four of them signed. Like you said, they're trying to get all four of them done. I hope you can do it, Brad. I hope you can make it work. But we might not be giving any big new contracts to anyone for the next couple of years because we're going to have to just sign our draft picks and be content with what we have.
Look, we have a great situation, though. Like, you can't tell me another team that has 18 to 20 core players like we do, and we just added a couple more. I mean, no pun intended, but more. He could end up becoming a core player. I don't think it's going to be immediate. I think it's going to take a little bit of time, just like with Rolder. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. But they could end up becoming core players within 2 to 3 seasons. I don't think they're going to have that immediate impact in their rookie year. I still think they're going to have decent seasons. Again, they got to stay healthy. They got to play the season. And if they stay healthy and they can play a full season, then, yeah, they will have an impact on the season. I think the defense in the new philosophy potentials I add that value to what they can do or what they can't do. I think if you put them in the situation of what we've been doing with this defense, I don't think they're going to be as successful in the same defensive style that we've been running. I think that they need to do something different to allow these guys to free themselves up and to have a little bit more freedom, period, to get after the quarterback and or just do more, right? Just do more, hitting those gaps. And I think when you bring in smart, heady football players that have a knack for finding the football, you have to give them a little bit of freedom. But usually as a rookie, I mean, that's earned, right? You're not going to be given that opportunity. You're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to prove it, down in, down out, practice in, practice out, that you can be trusted. And once you are trusted, the training wheels come off. Look at Jack Campbell, who we've tried to talk about 4 times now. Jack Campbell doesn't have any training wheels. He hasn't had any for a long time. He's been trusted to run this defense. And to Trace in the chat, I don't know who the hell is saying that Brad is going to release Jack Campbell. But my goodness, people bashing Brad Holmes because they didn't pick up a 5th-year option. These are the same people that, and thank you for sharing that, these are the same people that just don't understand how football is done. It's not just X's and O's all the time, man. It's the dollar signs and the pen to paper and the contracts and what goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes on that fans just don't know. I don't know everything. Part of the reason why you want to get an agent on the show to tell us a little bit about what goes on. They're not releasing Jack Campbell. This is just a way for them to move the money around a little bit, so to speak, to push the timeline out a little bit, allow for more conversation to happen. You could find out Friday that they got a 4-year deal done, a 4-year extension done. So by not picking up the 5th-year option, this is a tactic that a lot of teams use, quite simply because you don't lock yourself into a fully guaranteed $22 million in 2027. Instead, you take that money and you spread it out over the contract. So if Jack's going to, let's say he gets $22 million a year, I think he could probably get close to 25. If he gets 25 and you give him a 4-year, $100 million extension, well, now you have a brand new contract, really, that starts in 2027. And it's 4 years, $100 million, 25 AAV, but you can add a couple of void years to it. You spread out the bonus. You can give them a bigger bonus. You can spread that out a little bit longer. So they're not releasing the guy. They're not trying to not keep the guy. It's just moving the money around and trying to make it work with all of the other contracts that they have to get done. So it's a tactic that again, a lot of teams use. Brad and their financial teams are incredibly intelligent. They've done an excellent job, quite honestly, managing the cap. I mean, this year coming in, above the cap, it's the first time we've had negative cap to start a year, and they managed it flawlessly, and again, just by restructuring one deal with Jared Goff, they've been able to do all of the things that they've been able to do. They brought in 20, free agents roughly, and are going to be able to sign their rookies. So they're in good shape, but they're not going to be flush with cash. And for that reason, when I look at the cap table, which I will in a minute, I'll explain why it makes more sense. Jack Campbell right now is valued at $21.5 million annual average salary. He's expected to get somewhere between a 4-year and $85 million extension and a 4-year and $100 million extension, which would probably put him at the top of, let's just look at all linebacker contracts.
Now, one thing I did see yesterday was that part of the reason that the 5th-year option for Jack Campbell is so high is the Micah Parsons effect, because they label him as a linebacker. Is that correct?
So you're going to have to forgive me because I've forgotten more than I know. I want to say that they combine edge and linebacker together, or all of the defensive line? No, I think they combine edge and linebacker together, and that's how you get the values.
Yeah.
I don't think they're separate. I think that for some reason the NFL combines both of those positions. If you may just do a quick search for us real quick while you're thinking about it.
Because it's kind of like the Tyler Linderbaum thing where they take all the offensive linemen and they lump them together. So a guard or a tackle that makes, a bajillion dollars, you just can't do the fifth year option on a center because that position just is not valued enough. And look, what did he get? 26 million?
27
million.
Yeah. You remember when everyone thought I was nuts when I said he was going to get 25? Yeah. They thought I was crazy. And I'm like, why am I crazy for thinking that? Like, this dude, he's going to get a bag. And we've understood that, like, even with that deal, like, the Lions were in it to win it until it went north of 22. And that sucks.
And if the Lions have to play out the fourth year with Jack Campbell, and then after that, they can't work out a deal and he walks just like Linderbaum did, well, then some other team is going to pay him $26 million a year.
Yeah, he won't walk.
Maybe Jack gets 27 million. I don't know, but I have a feeling that Brad's going to get it done with these players. They want to stick around. This is their original team. They don't want to go somewhere else. This is all they've ever known. So, well,
I mean, I would agree and disagree on that, but I will say this: Jack's not going anywhere. They will absolutely tag him. Yes. They will franchise tag him before anything else happens, and that is 100% guaranteed. I'm not even going to go 99 or 80 or 50. It's 100% guaranteed. They are not letting that dude out of the building. I guarantee it. Maybe I'll eat crow next year, but I guarantee Jack is going nowhere.
And live on the ticker, Jack Campbell just got traded to the Kansas City Chiefs.
God, that would suck. That would suck. All right, let's take a look at his contract details here.
My God.
All right, so 21.5 million. I'm sorry I didn't put up Jahmyr Gibbs, but as you can see right here, he's projected at 4 years, 85. I've heard as high as 4 years, 100. Here's how they're comparing the players. So you got Fred Warner, Nick Bolton, Zach Bond, Jamie Sherwood. Remember, I wanted Sherwood a couple seasons ago. I really like that player. So you get an average of 3 years, 51 million. The average salary is 17 million. Age when signed is 26 years old. So 4 years, 73 is the base calculated value, and he's earned above that when you start adding in Pro Bowls and All Pros and all that good stuff. So when you calculate what they're trying to calculate here, Jack Campbell, games played 100%, rock solid. Snaps 89%, so he's outplayed everybody but Fred Warner. Tackles per game 4.44. He's outplayed everybody but Nick Bolton and Fred Warner. Sacks per game 0.19. So he's at the top of all linebackers in this list of Fred Warner, Nick Bolton, Zach Bond, and Jameson Sherwood for the most sacks per game average. Stops per game, I mean, no one's even close to this dude. He's at 3.26 stops per game. Fred Warner's 2.85, Nick Bolton 2.92. And catch rate per year. So this is catch rate against, right? This is what you're allowing, tight ends, running backs, slot guys. He's at 75.
Yeah, lower the better.
Right? He's lower than everybody else by a wide margin except for Nick Bolton. And then quarterback hurries per game, he's at 0.5. Again, he's right on top of the list. Nick Bolton is just ahead at 0.64. And then overall rating, I don't know how he's only an 83, because when you factor in all of those things that I just said, he's leading in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's leading in about 6 out of 7 categories. So how would his rating be a little bit lower than Fred Warner?
Yeah, but even an 83, he's only got one person ahead of him for total rating.
So there you go. 4 years, 85.8, which puts that average salary at 21.4. So that's exactly why you're not signing a fifth-year option or extending the fifth-year option to Jack Campbell, because this lines up with what the fifth-year option is. And so maybe they're thinking he's going to be a little bit less than the 5th-year option. Does that make sense too?
Yeah. What if they could get him for $21 million a year? Then the fans wouldn't be complaining about that 5th-year option if they can get it. What if they say, "Hey, Jack, we're going to give you a 5-year deal"?
Hold on. Gaviscon says Jack's stats look good because Barnes and Anzo were not very good. You're not comparing Jack to any one of those two. You're comparing Jack to middle linebackers. You're not comparing them to Sam and Will linebackers. That's not how you compare a middle linebacker. And I would highly disagree with that. Anzo is an extremely good football player. I mean, he was our leading tackler for like 4 years.
Every year. Wasn't he the leading tackler every year he was here?
Yeah, I mean, look at Jack's tackles last year, 166. Remember we had the conversation early in the season, will anybody break 150? And I think you and I both said that it probably wouldn't happen, but if it was anyone, it was going to be Jack. Jack did it.
Anzalone's last year was the only year he did not lead the Lions in tackles, I believe.
I mean, this dude's an absolute Iron Man. Look, he comes in 2023. He's played in every game.
Every game.
He started every game in 25. He started all but one in 24, and I think that was due to injury. I think he had something going on. And then in 2023, as a rookie, he started in 12 out of 17 games. You know, you said earlier it took him a little bit to get going, and that was right? But I think the reason why is they were trying to transition him to the mic and give him the leadership, give him the green dot. And so it just took Anzalone, that first season to kind of get him up to speed. And then he's now the green dot, man. I mean, he's the leader of the squad. Let's take a look at all linebacker contracts and salaries. And then did you look up?
Oh, I did not.
How they do it? Oh, come on. This thing is telling me my password's wrong. What is going on here? I don't have third-party cookies blocked on this site. Hold on, guys. Turn this off. Let's try that again. Still not working. All right, let me get off this screen so I can get logged in. Oh, this is OTC. I don't want OTC. Thought I was on Spotrac. There we go. All right, so when we take a look at the top linebacker contracts, you see how they have Brian Burns is in there. Obviously, he's an outside linebacker. So you have the blended, what you would consider a pass rusher in a 3-4 system. And then you have, a middle linebacker in a 4-3 system. So they're totally different, but you're combining all of these together. So when you have pass rusher contracts that are mixed in with all of the linebacker contracts, I mean, maybe there's not a better way to do it, but I would think that there's a better way to do it because, in my opinion, Allen, Burns, I mean, those guys should not be involved in this. Sweat shouldn't be involved in this. All of the, outside linebackers that are really pass rushers, more of the edge rusher in their 3-4 scheme, I don't think that they belong in here. But who am I? Who am I to say that? But you look at a $141 million deal for this guy, 5 years, 141. What does that break down to? About $30 million a year, about 27.5 roughly. Where's the AAV? Here we go, 28.25. So that's why the numbers are so high. You have two contracts in here at 28.25, 28.2. Then it drops all the way down to $20 million for Roquan Smith. Let me go top to bottom. Brian Burns 28.2, Owe 24, Fred Warner 21, Boy Mafi at 20, Roquan Smith at 20, Josh Sweat at 19. that's why the numbers are so high. What did you find out?
Yeah, so this says a major complexity exists because of off-ball linebackers and inside linebackers are often grouped with higher paid edge rushers in calculations. This can lead to very high inflated option figures for traditional inside linebackers. For instance, a high-performing linebacker's option might be inflated by elite edge rushers' salaries, forcing teams to decide if that player is worth a top-tier contract, as seen with the recent Detroit Lions decision with Jack Campbell.
So another thing to think about here is the franchise tag. You have non-exclusive and transition tags.
Mm-hmm.
So how would the Lions be able to effectuate a transition or non-exclusive tag in 2027? Right now, the linebacker exclusive non-exclusive franchise tag is $26.8 million.
Wow.
26. The transition tag is 21.9. But I got to look something up real quick. I can't remember the date. Transition tags usually carry an expiration date, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I don't know when the date is. Oh, here it is.
I think it's training camp.
Well, yeah, kind of. It's very close to that. So NFL teams have until July 15th at 4 p.m. to work out a long-term contract with a player on a transition tag. If no deal is done by then, the player can only play that season on the one-year transition tender. The key transition tag wrinkle is this. A transition tag player can negotiate with other teams. If he signs an offer sheet elsewhere, his original team gets 7 days to match. If they match, they keep him on those terms. If they decline, he leaves and the original team gets no draft pick compensation. So, I think that I need to do a little bit more research on this.
And that's the exact tag that they just put on Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers.
They did. They put a transition tag on him.
Yeah.
Oh
so
my God.
if he doesn't sign before
That's
training camp,
$37 million bucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And then if he doesn't sign by training camp, he cannot sign with another team, is what it said, what I read yesterday for Aaron Rodgers. So if he was hoping to not go through camp and, hold out and whatever, I don't think it's going to happen for him this year. And sign with whoever he wants, after camp is all done.
Hold on.
Steelers are putting the brakes on him. Jordan in the chat says the Lions' new running back is Kendrick Law. You heard it here first.
Who?
Kendrick Law.
He
receiver.
could be. I mean, the dude has a running back body.
Yeah, he played running back a little bit, he said. And he did everything behind the line of scrimmage. His average depth of target was 3 yards. And he was the leading receiver for Kentucky last year.
So I need to look at Jack's contract here because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. So it's exactly why I did that video. Maybe I'll repost it again because it needs more airplay. But the unrestricted free agency is real for him next year. And like I said, the nuclear option is available, and that nuclear option is the transition tag or the franchise tag. That's it. That's all they have left. They don't have, RFAs. They don't have restricted for free agent deals or tags. Like you can't tender Jack Campbell next year because that's usually only for 2nd through 7th round players, not first round players. So you can't do that. You can't put a tender on him and hope that a team wants to sign him and then you get a first round pick. I don't think the Lions want to lose him. I don't think the Lions will lose him, but they could leak this out through July of next year and put the transition tag on him. But now you're looking at an option where if they don't pick up the 5th, which they didn't, they declined it. The next option is the franchise tag, which is it'll be over $27 million next year. So you're going to pay more with a franchise tag if they didn't get a deal done. Now, I'm not going to do scare tactics, right? Like some of the other people will probably do. They're going to get a deal done. And if they don't, then you press the button, man, and you're going to have to tag the guy. That's your only option. But right now, the Lions do not have salary cap available to do it. Immediately, I think that when... Hold on here. I got to look this up, too, because some dates changed.
Gaviscon put Jack's getting 29 to 30 per year.
Dude, that could happen. That could happen. My question is how are the Lions going to afford it?
Do you remember when Matt Stafford did his contract and we gave him $30 million a year and everyone lost their mind?
Yeah, I mean, look how crazy low that would be today.
When we brought Goff in, it was only for 30-something million.
It's 26. It was like 26 his first couple of years. Then it
was
blew,
it? Oh,
then I think it got up to 32.
Yeah, it was so cheap, and we didn't realize it was cheap.
Well, no, I realized it, but he was 26 million going to the NFC Championship, and people still had a problem with that.
Yeah. Guys are getting 60 now. This is just insane money. Insane.
Okay, so I'm just looking up a couple of things here. When a team exercises a 5th-year option, they do not need to have the full cap space that day for the 5th-year salary. They need the cap space in the league year when that 5th-year option actually hits the cap. An example, perfect example here. 2023 first-round pick, Jack Campbell. Years 1 through 4 obviously ends in 2026. 5th-year option season is 27. The option decision deadline, May 1st, 2026. Cap space needed would be in February when the new league year hits, or March, when the new league year hits. That's when the money has to be available. So the Lions are expecting right now that they don't have the salary cap available when the new league year hits, which is kind of weird because they're going to get a big bump. Right? They're going to get a big bump next year. So let's take a look at the team salary cap for next season. And what is it looking like? And how many players do we even have signed? That's the biggest question. That's the biggest question. How many players will we have signed next year? Okay, so this is 2027. $74 million is what the Lions have available as of today. But look how many players we have signed. Do you see that number? Right here?
27.
27. That is not good. So you still have 24 more players to add just to get your top 51. Let's take a look at who is signed and their cap hits. Jared Goff will be $62.6 million next year. Penei Sewell will be $32 million. Actually, that number can't be right. How can Jared Goff's contract be 62? They just did a restructure. I thought his numbers were supposed to be closer to 49, I thought, or 50 something for the next 4 years. What does this say? I don't know. Penei Sewell will be $32 million next year. Amon-Ra St. Brown will be $29 million next year. Aleem McNeil will be $28 million. Aiden Hutchinson's only $16 million. Jahmyr Gibbs is currently $14.3. Jameson Williams is right around $11 million. Cade Mays is about $9 million. Kirby Joseph is $9 million. DJ Reed is $8 million. Terrion Arnold is $4.6 million. Tyleik Williams is $4.5 million. Derek Barnes, $4.4 million. Looks like there's an option year or something going on with Brock Wright. That's probably dead cap because this is his last year with the Lions. But only 27 players. Now, that number is going to go up with our 7 draft picks. So we should be closer to 34, which means that number is going to probably go from 74 down to about 64. And then even if you were to add, 14, call it 15 more players at an average of $2 million a piece, then this number could drop down to about 35 million before the new league year kicks in. So I don't know how they wouldn't have the cap space. They must be expecting something. They must be expecting something big, which if you then factor in Branch and others, that could change things. Take it away for just a minute.
Oh, all right. So I was just looking at something, and all of these ex-Lions players were deemed unrestricted free agents, not asked to re-sign. So they no longer factor into any compensatory draft pick formulas for Detroit or any team that might sign them. So that means that all of these players I'm about to list, we will not get any comp picks because they sign with a new team. And there's one name that I was thinking we might get a comp pick for, but we're not going to now. So these are Tristan Colon, a guard, Zach Cunningham, the linebacker, Marcus Davenport, everybody's favorite defensive end, Anthony Fursker, the tight end, Jamarco Jones, the guard, Arthur Millette, DB, Jalen Mills, DB, and then DJ Reader, the nose tackle. And I thought for sure DJ Reader, but apparently we did not try to re-sign him this offseason. And then you have Dan Skipper, Ezekiel Turner, the linebacker, and Shane Zylstra, the tight end. So we won't have the Flying Zylstra brothers this year if he does not re-sign with the Lions.
Zylstra brothers? Who's that?
Yeah, didn't we have 2 of the Zylstras?
No.
We had Shane and one other one.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
No. Zylstras?
Yeah, we had 2 of them.
No, we have 1.
Ah, okay. Well, anyway, Shane Zylstra is no longer with the team.
And then, so what was it saying about having to offer a contract? What was that?
Yeah, so they're unrestricted free agents, not asked to re-sign. So we did not try to re-sign any of these players. So they moved on their own.
Right, but I don't think you have to offer a contract to someone to get a comp pick. The way that the way I understand it, the way the comp works is when you lose players and then you bring players in, it's the difference of that, and it's a big mess on how it's figured out. But you don't have to offer them a contract. They just move on. It's based on free agency coming in and free agency going out. The way I understood it, so that's different from what I've heard that you have to offer them something.
Apparently, yeah.
I don't know about that. It's interesting.
Yeah. And then Kyle Brandt says, I think Gibbs will be in the MVP chatter this year. And then he posted a thing from Adam Schefter that says the Lions picked up the 5th-year contract option on running back Jahmyr Gibbs. So Kyle Brandt thinks that Gibbs has a chance for MVP votes. That would be quite interesting. And did you see that yesterday the Detroit Lions posted some pictures of the Detroit Lions working out, and they had a picture of Pacheco and Gibbs standing near each other, and Pacheco is absolutely ripped. They're saying this is the most bulked up and muscle he's ever had, and this is the best he's ever looked. and it says in the caption of the picture, it said, making Jahmyr Gibbs look like a high schooler because he's so much bigger and ripped.
That's
than Gibbs.
hilarious. But you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, Gibbs has a tighter frame.
He's small, yeah.
He's not the biggest guy in the world, but dude, his arms are ginormous. Like
he's got to have 0% body fat or very close to it.
I don't know, man. He likes his sweets.
Yeah.
He likes his sweets. So the question that I had earlier was about getting under the cap, staying under the cap, and what is that? How does that affect your team? And definitively, like I've always thought, you can go over the salary cap in the league year, right? Only if the extensions are structured so the Lions can stay under the cap by 2027. So a team really can't go over the current league year salary cap and say, well, we'll fix it by the 2027 league year. The NFL cap is a hard cap, but the CBA rule is simple. No club may have a team salary that exceeds the salary cap. So if the Detroit Lions sign extensions at 26, the 2026 cap charges must fit under the cap right now. They cannot sign new deals that push their 2026 team salary over the cap and just promise to get back under by March of 2027. But there is some flexibility. Extensions can be built with a low first year, salary cap, yada, yada, yada. But the way I always understood it, and what happens every year with teams, is before the new league year hits in 27, you'll hear, oh, well, the Miami Dolphins are, negative 50 million, or, whomever, right? The Saints are negative 80 million, and they got to cut all these players, trade all these players, whatever, to get, restructure all these players to get under the cap. So I'm almost confident that you can, and this could be another great question for an agent. I'm almost confident that if they wanted to do whatever they wanted to do right now, they could. And they could go over the cap and just fix it by March of next year, before the new league year hits. Otherwise, how do teams go over the cap all the time?
Yeah.
That would make no sense to me, unless it's because the projected cap amount for 27 is too high, which that still doesn't make sense to me. Because projected cap amount 27 would mean after the new league year, not before. I don't know. I need to do some research on it.
Attila put salary cap probably hitting $400 million next season. Man, could you imagine?
What's it at right now?
300 and something. Could you imagine if it gets to $500 million?
Oh, it will.
500 million a year. Oh my God.
It's 301.2 right now.
Yeah. So imagine in our lifetime when it's $1 billion.
Season. Just walk it out. I mean, next year it'll probably be 3. I can tell you. I'll give you the projection.
What's it go up by about 10% a year?
Well, this year is a little bit less. So next year to be about 328.
Yeah.
And then by 2028, it'll be 350.
Yeah.
And so you just keep walking it out. And I would say by 2031, 2032, it could reach $500 million.
Yeah. So Peter Van Larhoven says Branch will not be on next year's team unless he takes a team-friendly deal. And he might have to because of the injury. Because of that Achilles. They're not going to offer him top-of-the-market money, even though he's been a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro. He's still going to have to prove it with that injury.
2033 is when it'll be $500 million.
Yeah.
2033.
Same with Sam Laporta. They're both going to have to prove it coming off an injury.
Well, according to Brad Holmes, he said we don't need to see these players play before we sign them to an extension. And I'm thinking, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You did with Aiden, and that deal was way more expensive. So you better with these two guys. Look, again, as much as I like both of those players, they're great players. You have to be shrewd financially. Otherwise, you can end up screwing the team. It's not about those two guys at all. It's about the other 67 that are on your roster throughout the year. That's what it's all about. It's not about those two. You have to worry about every other player on the roster, because if you screw yourself and you screw up on a player's contract, you're screwing the team. And then the team is going to be let down, and they're probably going to feel a certain way when you can't bring in players to help the team win. Believe it or not, these players do care about the players that come in. They care about the free agents that get signed. They care about the draft picks that come in. They want to play with good players. They want players that fit, what they're all about, what they do. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown's probably been the most vocal about that. Like he does care, which is good. I think it matters. All right, let's get into the. I think we're done with Jack. I think we're done with Jahmyr. J-Mo. Sorry, we walked this out for a long time this morning. So J-Mo, look in the headlines again, but maybe this time it's not. It's not for something bad, right? The last 3 seasons or so, he seems to always be in the headlines around this time, doing something stupid, right? Getting in trouble or whatever. And he's cleaned up his act big time. He's really turned a hard corner the right way, and Jamel's doing great right now. But he decided that he was going to sue the NCAA, and says that they've been making money off of him, off of his name, his likeness, and his career without properly compensating him. Now, I didn't go deep off into this subject because I think it's kind of dumb, but why did you wait 4 years to do something? Like what happened in the last 4 years that tells you now you should have sued them for something? It's going to be a big web. It's a tangled web of information, and quite honestly, I don't even know where this is going to go. I haven't spent 2 seconds on reading, like, what is it really going to entail? What is he really trying to get? I don't even know how much he sued him for. But you would think that this, stage in your life, is there not a statute of limitations on something like this? Or are they still profiteering off of his name and likeness post him leaving college, and they're not compensating him? That I could understand.
That's what he's claiming.
So,
and I think it opens Pandora's box to every player that played college football that did not get NIL money, like Jameson Williams, because he got out right before the NIL money kicked in, and NIL has just changed the complete landscape of college football. Like, who was it? The Saban, the Alabama coach. He said it's ruined college football. He hates NIL.
I don't think it's ruined it. I think that. I mean, I guess
they deserve to make money, but when one team like Ohio State pays $27 million for their players for one season, and another school only pays $3 million for their players for one season, it's a big difference. They should all have, an equal opportunity to buy these players, because that's what they're doing. They're buying them.
I think that's where the issues kind of happen, or that's where the problems start. Is you're essentially building, an all-star team every year. If your school has the money, the endowment, the boosters, if you have the money to go after the players, that's where it's changed college football. Because now championships are paid for. They're not earned. I mean, they still have to go out there and put the work in. They have to go out there and play. But you're paying for something. And before, like, I loved watching college football. I haven't watched much of it the last couple of years like I used to. And I don't know if it's just because my team sucks, probably, but it is devalued a little bit because you're watching teams that are just loaded, every single year now, and they're just getting more loaded, and then they refill every year, and it kind of makes it unfair. It doesn't make it fun to watch. When I watched college football, it was like the last thing I felt there was in football that wasn't tainted. I thought that college football was real. It felt real. It was fun to watch. The energy of the kids, the kids that are from the school in the stands, right? I love going to college games. The energy is so much different. And you're watching these guys go out there and earn something for their future. And now a lot of them are way overpaid. They're paid a ton of money. I mean, they're making more money than NFL is paying. If anything, the NFL now needs to look at how they're paying players, because either they need to fix the NIL to have a structured amount just like the NFL does, right? How the NFL has a, structured rookie amount, and it's tiered by the draft. I think if they fix the NIL to do that and tier it, then it maybe will deaden the blow to the NFL that it has now for the last few seasons. The draft has been terrible the last couple of years. Probably post the third round, I would say that you're not getting the same type of players that you used to. And really, 2023 might have been the last year that we had a really good first two rounds. So it's changed. It's hurting the NFL, but I also feel it's hurting the image of what college football used to be. But at the same time, I think they're deserving of the money. I think that they should get paid. I think they absolutely should get paid, because these schools are making billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars off of college football, which largely pays for all of the other sports programs. College basketball and college football pay for all of the other programs at their school. The women's programs, everything from hockey to water polo. I mean, that's what football pays for, because they make so much damn money. So they are fair to get compensated. But at what point does it become a problem where it's affecting the NFL now? I think that those two need to have a conversation and say, look, you need to tier this. You can't pay these guys more than this, which would help college football. But at the same time, they need to be justly and fairly compensated, I believe, for their time with their team. Maybe they need to tighten the rules on the portal. Maybe they need to sign contracts that actually stick. If you're going to sign with this team for, $20 million, you've got to stay for your length of your contract. Maybe they start trading players. Maybe they have their own little draft. Maybe they should do that. Maybe they should turn it into a college draft where teams are, they go, it'd probably be like a week-long draft. But you get where I'm going with this. They should do exactly what the NFL does. If you're going to pay these guys, all right, make it equal now. Give every team an opportunity, tier it, draft them, and then pay them on that tiered system. What do you think about that? I think that'd be a good video, honestly.
Yeah, college draft would be awesome.
I think that'd be sweet.
Yeah, but when you have players like Ty Simpson, he could have stayed. He could have went to the University of Miami in the transfer portal, and he could have made more money there than he's going to make being a first-round pick for the LA Rams. So it's making zero sense right now for a lot of these kids to come out of college. They're making so much money. A lot of them are going to make less money when they make it to the NFL.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the problem. That is why you're seeing 23, 24, 25-year-olds being the norm now. And it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. So you're going to have older players coming into the league. If it wasn't for long before, it's not going to be much longer now, because if you have older players, they're going to wash out quicker.
Yeah. But, if they capped it to $1 million, no matter what, there's no NIL deal that can be worth more than $1 million a year, then I think it would be a little bit more even playing field, because some of these teams they're going nuts with these players. They're making so much money. And then you got the walk-on that doesn't make squat, that ends up making the team and going from there. So I don't know. Are all players being paid? Do they all get NIL money?
I don't know if there's a minimum, but I would say that would be fair, and I think that that's exactly why you need to do a draft and you need to tier it, because the minimum amount should be the minimum, right? If you're going to play college football, I mean, look at the NFL. They pay these guys, what, $15,000 a week just for training camp. And on the practice squad, I think you get $14,000 or $15,000 a week. I think it's like $500,000 a year. So I think that when you look at college, you should get, you get $50,000 to practice, whether you make the squad or not. You get $50,000 just to practice. Everybody gets the same amount of money, and then your NIL deal kicks in when the season starts. So if you make the team, great. If you don't, you can move on. You go to the portal, and maybe the portal should be used for that. Like if you get cut, you get to go to the portal. If you get a contract with the team, you stay for a couple of seasons, then you can enter the portal if you want to. I think that it's going to take multiple years to be able to facilitate a system that works. Some of the bigger deals that have been reported, like Bryce Underwood's Michigan's quarterback, was reported to make about $10.5 million over 4 years. And some suggested it was around $12 million. And I don't know if there's anyone that has made more than that. But I just heard that, isn't Bryce Underwood second string now?
Yeah. He's not even the starter.
I don't understand that. I think Bryce Underwood's a special cat. But yeah, in a situation like that, if you're going to be second string and you're not starting anymore, then okay, I'm out. That's what happens. They leave. There's no reason to stay. But I don't think that you get a guaranteed amount if you leave. I think if you leave, you forego the rest of your money. So,
yeah. I think they learned with Bryce Underwood, he likes to run around a little bit too much instead of sticking in the pocket and throwing the ball where it needs to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's
my opinion.
That's what happens. All right, let's try to get to this quickly here. NFC, let's just move on. Take a quick break. We'll take a quick break, then we're going to come down. We're going to break down the NFC South and West, I believe, right? What does it say on the screen? NFC West, NFC South. I don't know. Did you guys put any thumbs up in the chat for the new overlay today? Do you guys like the new overlay? I'm trying to create something that's not super gimmicky looking, but at the same time, a little bit professional. Once my camera starts working, I think we'll have no problems there. I'm so sick of technical issues. Quick break. We'll come back, and we're going to break down two more conferences, two more divisions, and be right back.
I pledge my Sundays to the Honolulu Blue, to the effect snow and the November rain. One nation under Goff, moving the chains with the fire of the city coursing through our veins. Hey, invisible spirit, above them will crack. We got the whole league's targets on our back. Watch the war room flicker, watch the vision take hold, turning late round flyers into Detroit gold. He's the master of the board, the dealer of the deck, putting every expert opinion in check. Put every expert opinion in check. He doesn't follow trends, he creates the hook. Quiet in the room, let Brad cook. To the trenches we swear, where the dirty work's done, where the game isn't played, it's physically won. I promise to roar till my vocal cords fray, to believe in the homes and the Brad chosen way. We don't want the flash, we don't want the glitz, just the hunters who thrive in the heart of the grit. Liberty from the cellar, and justice for the years of pain. No more same old.
Hey, look who I found. There we go. I got stuck there for a minute. Terry and Arnold doing some workouts. Did you see this yesterday?
Oh, yes, I did.
He looks dialed in.
He looks good.
His shoulders look like they have more definition this year too. His feet look fast, obviously. That's never been a problem. I mean, he has the true blue blood type of body for playing corner. You just need that mental space to get right.
He has all the ability to be a blue chip corner for the Lions, and he just got to put it all together. He's big, he's fast. I mean, he's got all the tools. He's just got to put it together at the pro level.
Well, I'm hoping he's dialed in, man, because we can't take another year of what ifs this year. Like it's all go.
Same with Rakestraw. You know, Rakestraw has to put it together this year. No getting injured this year. Stay healthy, stay clean, and let's put it together. Let's show everybody what you got, Rakestraw.
I think that's again the biggest reason why the Lions are changing everything up this year is they don't want issues, man. I think that they've heard it from everybody that, you know, they're worried about Dan Campbell's practicing and practicing too hard, and like I don't think that's a problem. I really don't. I think that every team practices that way. Now maybe during the season they may go a little bit lighter.
It would be interesting to see how many of Detroit Lions players lost games due to injury at practice and how many games they lost compared to injuries during a game and how many games they lost due to injury from a game versus.
I mean, I can probably give you a very, very accurate guess. I would say 95% of the injuries came from a game and 5% came from practice.
Yeah.
Of the major injuries. Major injuries. Rannis Rakestraw might be the only one, and Levi Onwuzurike's knee last year.
And Vaki.
So, I don't remember where did he get injured?
At training camp.
I don't remember what he did, though.
His knee.
I thought it was hamstring or something crazy.
Yeah, it was knee, leg, something.
Can't do anything about a hamstring. I mean,
yeah.
The only injuries that I care about in practice are the ones that you can't do anything about, right?
Yeah.
Can't do anything about a hamstring. You can't do anything about a pulled groin. If you're hitting, then the only type of injuries you're really going to suffer are contact hits. So shoulders, broken shoulders, broken breastplate, torn labrum, in your pec, stuff like that. But that stuff happens. It's the game. And if you don't reach in a tackle, you're probably not going to tear your pec. Anyway, AFC South.
All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay. Hold on. Hold the phone here. NFC South. I said AFC. You get it pulled up on this side. All right. Tampa Bay, man. So we're going to break down the rest of the NFC today. Give out the rankings and the grades. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I have them overall with a B+ in this draft. They had 7 picks. Their WAA added was 1.159. They were ranked 15th out of 32 teams. They brought in Ruben Bain out of Miami. They doubled back at the linebacker, the defensive position with a new linebacker and Jeremiah Trotter. I thought they had a really good draft. Wide receiver Evan Hurst, a little bit lesser known commodity in this year's draft. Safety Miles Scott out of California. Defensive lineman DeMonte Capehart. What a perfect pick for Tampa Bay here. Guard Rocco Spindler. I honestly don't know anything about this guy. Very, very late round draft pick 224. And then they picked at 225. They brought in tight end Jake Overman from Pittsburgh Panthers. The player snapshot on these guys. Why my screen's doing that? Come on. There you go. Player snapshot for Bain. Look, is he a premium edge answer? I don't think so. Is he powerful? Yes. Is he productive? Yes. Can he fit the run? Yes. Tampa needs more on the front seven. They do. And I think that he's going to give the Buccaneers a day one pressure piece, but I still think his 3-down potential is limited. And I feel like his tackling is limited. I'm not high on Bain. If there's any player that I'm wrong on this year, it could be Bain. But I'm not the only one that feels this way. I don't see him being a premium player in the NFL. I feel like the arms are going to slow him down. He might be good in other areas, but I don't see him being that great as an edge rusher unless they somehow figure out a way to get him free as a free rusher. And I definitely don't see where an offense is going to allow him to get free. So as a free rusher, yeah, he could do great. But if he's engaged, he's going to have trouble. Jeremiah Trotter, smart, instinctive linebacker with NFL bloodlines and coverage awareness. Size and take-on power are the concerns here, but the processing gives him early defensive value for the Bucs. Hurst, a receiver. Hurst is a receiver with route ability and competitive hands. He must prove separation against NFL corners, but the skill set gives Tampa, I think, the depth on the upside. I mean, obviously they're missing, Evans this year. They're trying to do something to pick up his production. It's not going to come from Hurst, and it's not going to come from him early. Scott, like I said, I don't know a ton about Scott, but he is a safety that has movement skills and immediate sub-package value. Tackling consistency really decides whether he becomes more than just depth. DeMonte Capehart, know a lot about him. Capehart is a big interior defender with early down power. Pass rush, some think is limited. I think it's just getting started. But he can definitely compete as a rotational run plugger. This guy is violent at the point of attack. I mean, he stacks and he throws. He doesn't shed. He stacks and he throws dudes out of his way. He's fun to watch. Spindler, interior depth, obviously late in the draft. Guard versatility here. Overman, again, depth at the tight end position. Late round draft pick in the 7th. We'll see if he makes their squad, but blocking consistency was the biggest thing for him that was noted about his career. And then as far as DraftKings, hold on, there we go. DraftKings and the overall prediction. Tampa Bay improved the pass rush, you could say, between Trotter and Bain, and especially on the defensive front with Capehart. I think Bain kind of fell into their lap, or did he? I think he slipped just where he was supposed to slip to. I think he gives the Bucs options, I guess, to be more unique with their defense, which is not what we want, but they're going to have it. DeMonte Capehart absolutely adds big-time value for them, and DraftKings still prices Tampa as a bubble team, but this defense has more teeth, I think, after the draft, especially with Capehart, but Trotter should fit in nicely too. They're projected 9-8, win total 8.5, plus 115 on the playoff odds, plus 5,000 for the Super Bowl. I'm surprised that they didn't give Baker Mayfield more. I'm really surprised. I can't remember all of their free agency acquisitions, but I'm surprised that they didn't give him more. There was way more to be given in this draft. So for the Bucs, I gave them a B+. I think they did great with what they had, and Bain is the crapshoot. DeMonte Capehart pushed the value for me. Trotter pushed the value for me. And even Miles Scott, like I said, I don't know a ton about him, but I think there's enough there where he can be a pretty good safety. Overall, I'm gonna stick with. I think Evans is a big problem. I don't think they've done enough to replace Evans. So I'm gonna stick them at 10-7. 10 is a lot of wins for me for them, but I'm gonna stick at 10-7. What do you have for the Bucs?
All right, for the Bucs, I'm a little bit different than you. I have them overall as a B. Now, the consensus grade is that they got an A because Ruben Bain dropped to them and that they stole a premier edge rusher. Well, Ruben Bain has short arms. A short-armed edge has never gotten 10 sacks in the NFL. So Ruben Bain proved me wrong. And then I also dinged them a little bit because they stole DeMonte Capehart, and I really wanted him. So because of that, I'm going to move him down a little bit. But they secured the middle of the field with a thumping linebacker in Trotter. And then I think they tried to replace Mike Evans with this Ted Hurst from Georgia State. So they brought in Emeka Egbuka last year from a small school, and I think they're trying to do the same type of thing this year. They're trying to find that gem in the rough that no one was thinking about in Ted Hurst. He's a big-bodied receiver. He's tall. He's fast. So they're hoping that he can be, in a year or two, a replacement for Mike Evans. But they still have a couple of wide receivers there, and I think they're going to be fine with wide receiver. I have them a little bit different this year, though. I think they're going to fall back just a little bit this year, and I have the Bucs going 8-9 with an overall grade of a B this year. And I think they're going to get third place in the NFC South. Because I think a couple of the other teams did a little bit better in the draft.
Yeah, I'll put my final rankings when we're done with this, where I have the teams. But I would say that, when I look at the free agency acquisitions for this team, they brought in, or they re-signed Cade Otton. They brought in Alex Anzalone. They brought in the running back Kenneth Gainwell. They brought in Ashawn Robinson to the defensive line. So premier, defensive lineman, vet. They brought in Al-Quadin Muhammad. They even brought in Miles Killebrew. So there's 4 former Lions right there. Cole Clef they re-signed. They brought in Christian Roseboom, the linebacker from the Panthers. They brought in Raheem Nunez-Roches from the New York Giants. Not really a big deal there. Chase Lucas, another former Lion they brought in from San Francisco. They got 4 or 5 Lions they added just in free agency alone. Former and recent. So I think they did a lot on the defensive side of the ball, and I think their defense is going to be pretty scary. honestly. If Anzalone and Muhammad can pick up where they left off in Detroit, I think they're going to be a scary defense just from those two acquisitions alone. But Miles Killebrew, man, I mean, he's still one of the better safeties in the league. I don't know how we ever fumbled that. I really don't. Like, he was pretty solid when we brought him in. That was actually a good pickup. But who did they lose, right? They lost Mike Evans, Jamel Dean, Christian Izzian, Rashad White. They didn't really lose too much. Kendall Vildor they lost. Not that that was a big deal. Logan Hall on the defensive line. They lost Logan Hall. So they lost a little bit, and then they lost a lot on the offensive side of the ball with Mike Evans. I mean, a consistent, 100 catches, 1,000 yards, and 10 TDs a year, it seemed like, every year for him. Now, obviously, he had some significant injury issues last year that didn't help his case. Let's go to the Panthers next.
Okay.
Go ahead, lead us off.
Trying to get there. Where the heck are the Panthers on this list? There they are, Carolina. Oh, so let's see. What did Carolina pick up? They picked up Monroe Freeling in the first round and then turned around and got Lee Hunter, the defensive tackle from Texas Tech. And then they brought in wide receiver Chris Brazel. And then it was Will Lee, a cornerback, Sam Heitch, a center, Zaki Wheatley, the guy we all wanted, the safety from Penn State, and then to round it off, Jackson Kuwach from linebacker from Miami of Ohio. And let's see, the Panthers. The Panthers got an A- grade for the consensus grade. I'm going to give them pretty close to the same. I'm going to give them a B+ for their draft this year. And Freeling, I think he's going to be okay for them guys. They needed offensive tackle help big time. Their offensive line fell apart in the playoffs last year. So did their defense. And then that's where, PFF gives their day 2 pick in Lee Hunter. They praise him. They say that was their best pick of the draft. And the Panthers, they're clearly focused on the trenches for 2026, which is nice. And then in the third round, they took Brazel, and he can be a reliable perimeter weapon. Their offense could take a massive leap forward this year with a little help from a wide receiver and on the offensive line. So I have them doing just about the same as they did last year. I have them going 9-8 with a B+ grade for this draft.
9-8 with a B+?
Yep. So about the same as last year.
Quick question on the Bucs.
Sure.
Just to clear it up in the chat, because you mentioned whoops. What's going on here? Why can't I get this poll up? You mentioned small school for Emeka Egbuka. He went to
he was Ohio State.
Yeah.
He was Ohio State, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just want to clear that up.
No. The other guy was small school. Man, I got to get back to the Bucs. I was thinking of the other. Was it McMillan that they drafted last year? I was thinking of their other wide receiver that they chose last year. Let me see here. Yeah, Jalen McMillan is the one I was thinking of.
Where did McMillan go to school?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't remember. I'm trying to find Panthers depth chart real quick. There we go. Okay, so you gave them a B+, 9-8, and I'm sorry, the Bucs you had in third place. Panthers, where do you have them?
Second place.
Second place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for me, look, the Panthers, they knocked it out the park, man. This was another A+ draft for me. 7 picks. 1.036 was the WAA, so wins above average expected with the draft class. Monroe Freeling, even though I'm not very high on Monroe Freeling as a tackle, I think that eventually he'll be a good player. I think the low starts in his career are going to be tested early at the NFL level. But Lee Hunter is an absolute dog. Absolute dog. I really like Lee Hunter in this draft. I would have been ecstatic had the Lions brought him in. And then Chris Brassel, he easily could have been the best wide receiver in this class. And I want to say that there might have been some issues with injury with him, some concerns with injury. Memory's a little cloudy now. It's been a few days since the draft. And gosh, after going through hundreds of players, for some reason he fell. And he fell all the way to pick 83. I thought for sure he would have been gone a little bit earlier than that, if not as early as the top of the second. Could have been as early as a late first round pick. But either way, he ends up in Carolina. And then they also brought in the corner I really liked, Will Lee. Sam Hatchett, the Kansas City State Wildcats center. That was a great pickup for them. And at 144, might have been some pretty good value there. The biggest value of this draft came in the safety, Zaki Wheatley. This is a player that is going to drive people nuts. You give him next year to grow, and by year 2, I think Zaki Wheatley is going to be a household name. I really do. I think he's that good. When I take quick look at these players, here's what I see. The upside is there from Monroe Freeling. I think that he's young. Obviously, he's long. He's improving. Fast in the pass pro. But that's the problem for me, is that there's not a ton of starts there. So you don't really have an idea of any sort of an inkling of a finished product yet. Carolina gets another starting option at left tackle. He could also be pushed to the right side. I doubt it. But it matters because Ikem Ekwonu is coming off of a major late season injury. Lee Hunter, interior tone setter, run game disruptor, steady year-over-year growth. His pass rush is more solid than explosive, but Carolina gets a dependable early down defender with rotational upside. And then Brassel, vertical guy. Boomer bust option here. I think outside receiver who can stress coverage downfield. And I like the boom more than the bust, but we'll see what happens. The route tree is limited. It will get expanded. But his field stretching profile gives Carolina a true WR3 to start 2026. And then Will Lee. I mean, he's a developmental corner, but I do believe that his size, the length, the ball production, he's rangy. I think that he's going to quickly develop at the next level. The concern is tackling and penalty discipline. He's a bit handsy, gets too many penalties, but his physical toolbox gives him a starter path, I think, over the next couple of seasons. Sam Hatchett out of Kansas. Look, clean interior value here, whether you slide him into guard or you keep him at center. Leverage and pass pro reliability. Profiles as a backup center with real push for a role somewhere on the interior. And then Wheatley, man, long, rangy, savvy. He's built for single high work. His frame can be exposed in the box, but the coverage range really gives him some options on the back end of this defense. And then the last guy, Kuwach, don't know much about him. He's a depth linebacker, big time developmental prospect here. He has to really prove himself in coverage, but the roster path is effort, all effort. Like if he just gives the effort, maybe he'll stick around. Tackling and core teams, I think are his biggest issues. Meaning tackling is his biggest issue, and core special teamer is probably where he's going to end up to start. As far as DraftKings goes, the 2026 prediction outlook, Carolina's draft was about giving Bryce Young a cleaner environment and building the trenches around him. Monroe Freeling gives the Panthers that option. Chris Brassel adds the size and some explosiveness in the receiver room. Hatchett gives them some interior line options and value. Lee Hunter really strengthens the front of that defensive front. And DraftKings still values or views Carolina as a year away. So they're not giving them a ton of support this year at 8-9, 7.5 over-under on the win total, plus 205 odds to make the playoffs, and plus 8,000 to make the Super Bowl. I'm a little bit higher on Carolina. I thought what they did last year was commendable. I thought that their late season push could have been better, but I think that they're a little bit closer than they were a year ago. I don't think they're further away at all. But I'm going to stick with 9-8. I'm sorry, they said 8-9. I'm going 10-7. I got two teams at 10-7 here, and I'll let you know where they all stack up here at the end. Let's get into the Saints.
All right, the New Orleans Saints. So their consensus grade was a B. I have them a little bit higher at a B+. Now, I'm taking a risk on the Saints because they took all of their players hoping that they're finding immediate rookie starters for the 2026 season. And they took some risks on a couple of players. So Jordan Tyson, he was one of the most talked about wide receivers at the draft, whether he's going to be boom or bust. A lot of people predict that he was the best wide receiver in the draft, and it's really going to come down to him if this draft class is a B+ or not, because I have him at a B+. So you have Jordan Tyson, and then they turned around and got Christian Miller. Christian Miller was the best available defensive tackle at the time that was left on the board. He's plus 300 pounds, 6'3". The guy's a house and a great player for the New Orleans Saints. Then you get Oscar Delp, the tight end. Both Will and I had drafted him multiple times in mock drafts. And then you go down to their 5th round, and they picked up Lorenzo Styles Jr. at safety, another player that I really was hoping that Brad Holmes would take a risk on. Now, the New Orleans Saints, they picked up not one, not two, but 3 wide receivers in this draft. They picked up an offensive guard in Jeremiah Wright, and they picked up a tight end. So out of their 8 draft picks, they picked 5 on offense, 3 on defense, and only 1 on defense was within their top 5 picks. Okay, they are gearing up to help out Tyler Shuck. That's what this tells me. They want to get this offense moving, and then they'll work on the defense next year. They picked up 1 decent defensive player. The other defensive players they got are lower end Lorenzo Styles and TJ Hall, the cornerback. They're back end of the roster type players. So I just have this weird feeling about the New Orleans Saints this year. I think they started to kind of get it together at the end of last year. I think Tyler Shuck started to put it together a little bit, and he started to catch fire. So I think that is going to roll over to this year. So I have the New Orleans Saints at 11-6 with a B+ grade for now. And I could have total egg on my face next year if Jordan Tyson flames out and he's horrible, but he could come out and be the offensive rookie of the year also. He's got that much of a ceiling, but he's also got the floor to be a horrible wide receiver at the next level. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens this year with Jordan Tyson and the New Orleans Saints. What do you think, Will?
Well, I think that when I look at the Saints and how they started the year, they lost Alontae Taylor, they lost Demario Davis, they lost Foster Moreau, they lost Jonathan Bullard, they lost Jonah Williams off the edge, and Jack Stoll, the tight end. The latter of the 3, not that big of a deal, but Alontae Taylor and Demario Davis were big losses for this team. They signed some good players. They brought in David Edwards, the guard from Buffalo. They brought in Travis Achan from the Panthers. sign him to a decent deal. They brought in Caden Ellis, the linebacker from the Falcons, and they also brought in Ryan Wright, the punter from the Vikings. Outside of that, they brought in Noah Fant, Dylan Radunes, John Ridgway, and really nobody else matters who they brought in. They didn't add a ton of great players, but they added about 4 or 5 in free agency. They also lost 2. But this year, in this year's draft, they brought in Jordan Tyson, like you mentioned. And look, this is a receiver that really gives New Orleans a much needed productive target for Tyler Shuck. He has enough size and playmaking ability to factor in the game early. He gives the Saints a legitimate offensive building block, I think, for Tyler Shuck. But really, the consensus on him is injury and the worry of injury. He has a lot of injury history, and there was some worry that, potentially he wouldn't even go in the first round. I had him in the top 10 all day. I had him going to the Saints. It was a perfect pick. Taylor is a 3-down back profile with receiving value and steady production. So they definitely wanted to upgrade what they had in the running back room. And I think that he's going to be a solid guy to at least start. He's probably number 2, maybe number 3 at the worst to start, but I think he's going to work his way up. Oscar Delp, a late, late 3rd round pick, I think he was.
Yeah. Number 9 in the 3rd round.
Was it? Oh, so early 3rd round pick. Early third round pick.
Look, early for him, but
yeah, I'd say it's really early for him too, as well. Picking him that early in the draft. Look, he has legit SEC experience. I know he's not the biggest, the fastest guy in the world, but he's a developmental receiving tight end. I don't think he's going to come in and just be a blocking tight end, but his blocking is pretty solid. He needs some consistency in his game, and it's going to take him a couple of years to develop. But again, this is another target for Tyler Shuck, immediately to help this offense. And then Ali, the cornerback Khalil Ali from Alabama, like this kid flew under the radar, and like even under my radar, I don't know how I missed this guy. He's definitely a developmental corner. He has the size and the movement traits, but his techniques have to catch up. The athletic profile is definitely worth the swing here for the Saints, so I'm excited to see where he grows, but this is a player that I don't know how I missed. I really don't, because this is one that I wouldn't have minded in Detroit, honestly. And then you have Lance, the wide receiver, Elander. I don't know if that's how you say his name. Elander? That's a weird first name. Never seen a first name like that before. But he's a very versatile receiver. I think he could fit. Contested catch reliability. The competition jump though is real. From where he's going, or from where he's coming from, North Dakota State, and now into the NFL, like that's a big jump. So we'll see where he develops, but I don't expect anything out of him early. And then Lorenzo Styles, like, come on, man. Like, this is the guy that I really expected the Lions to take a flyer on. Former receiver turned defensive back with run support growth. I think that his game is going to be just fine. Coverage inconsistencies need some work there. But I think that you give him a couple of years in the NFL, and I think he's going to carve out a pretty good role. Brown and Hall to end their draft to pick 184 and 194. Another receiver in Gregory Brown from Miami, and another cornerback in Ryland Hall from the Northwestern Wildcats. I didn't think they did a bad job. I actually think that they nailed, the top 3 picks, but it wasn't an overly exciting draft for the New Orleans Saints. It was just kind of like, who? I hear a lot of who's, right? Like there was an owl in the room. I gave him a B-. And like I didn't think they did bad, but like a lot of names I don't know how they fit yet. And sometimes those are the best drafts. Like we might come back to this draft in a year or two and be like, damn, like they did a good job, I just don't see it. I'll be real. I don't see it. The prediction by DraftKings. says that Tyler Shuck needed more weapons. And that's what the Saints tried to do. Kind of what you said. Jordan Tyson, Darius Taylor, Oscar Delp, three offensive players in a row. And then 4 out of 5 offensive players in this draft. They clearly wanted to give Tyler Shuck more help. Why they didn't address the offensive line is beyond me. That doesn't make any sense to me. Jordan Tyson, Oscar Delp, Bryce Lance, Barian Brown, they raised the offensive ceiling. And then Christian Miller. Where was Christian Miller taken?
2nd round.
What pick?
Hold on a sec. He was 214, or I'm on the wrong team. Sorry. Let's see. New Orleans. 210.
Okay, I thought you said 2nd round.
Yeah, 2nd round, pick 10.
Oh, 2. I thought you said 210.
Yeah, round 2, pick 10.
Okay. So right around 70-ish?
Well, 32 plus 10 would be 42.
Oh, sorry, 42. Yeah, what am I thinking? So it wasn't 3 in a row on the offense. It was offense, defense, offense, defense, offense is the way that went down. Look, Christian Miller was one of my favorite defensive linemen in this class. I think he was way undervalued. I'm still surprised he went that early comparatively to the rest of the defensive linemen. He might be the best in this class. I think they got a really good one here. He adds interior defensive power that I don't think a lot of other players have in this class other than Caleb Banks. The odds really suggest that the Saints are competitive but not serious playoff threats, and I kind of agree. They projected the 8-9 record, 7.5, over under, plus 170 to make the playoffs, and plus 8,000, just like the Panthers, to make the Super Bowl. So I gave them a B-, and I'm going to give them a winning season at 9-8, but that's as far as it goes for me. Last but not least, the Falcons.
Oh, forgot about the Falcons. I was moving on to the NFC West already. The Atlanta Falcons. So their consensus grade was a C+. They focused heavily on adding secondary help with their top pick, grabbing a high IQ corner in Terrell. And let's see. Got to get back to Atlanta here. Look at their picks. They took Avion Terrell at number 16 overall in the 2nd round, since they did not have a 1st round pick. Then they turned around with Zachariah Branch, the wide receiver from Georgia, in the 3rd round. And then Kendall Daniels, a linebacker from Oklahoma, in the 4th round. And then they had 2 6th round picks. They took a defensive tackle from Washington, Harold Perkins from LSU, the linebacker, and then finished it out with an offensive tackle from Ohio State named Ethan Onionwa.
Say it faster.
Yeah, Onionwa. There we go. Got it. Put it in there. But their consensus draft grade was a C+. Let's see what Fox Sports had to say about them. They praised the emphasis on fortifying the defensive backfield. And Atlanta's roster is gritty and physical, and they finally added game-breaking speed with Branch. Their 2026 success will depend heavily on whether their young defensive front can generate enough pressure to protect the corners. So it's all about the defense when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. Well, they have a new head coach in Kevin Stefanski. They have a new everything. And I just don't know if Kevin Stefanski can do it with Michael Penix or not. So I have them going 7-10, and I gave them a draft of a C, and that's partially because they didn't have a 1st round draft pick. They traded away. So they get 4th place in the division for me at 7-10.
This might be one that we're fairly closely aligned on. As far as the Falcons go, the consensus was a C+. I think you mentioned that.
Yep.
They had 6 picks. Their WAA added, so their wins above average added for the draft was at .774. They are ranked 24th out of 32. Avion Terrell, look, he's an instinctive corner with elite football IQ and playmaking feel. The length may push him toward zone-heavy usage. I don't see him as a big-time man guy. There's starter traits there. I'm not overly impressed. I'm not overly impressed with Terrell. Like I said during the draft, I would have been livid had we taken Terrell. I just don't like undersized guys. I really don't. Zachariah Branch, the guy that was arrested, I think a week before the draft. Yeah. Look, he's a rare athlete for a receiver. He's explosive enough to tilt coverage in special teams. I think the route craft must catch up. He needs more developed route tree, or he risks becoming just a gadget-only kind of a receiver at the next level. And then he also has to keep his head screwed on right. Daniels, massive safety / linebacker conversion with range, size, and multi-year defensive experience. He gives Atlanta some matchup flexibility. He might be their best draft pick out of this whole thing. And that's at 134. He might be their best draft pick out of this whole thing. Thompson, strong, explosive interior defender with balanced run and rush production. His testing gives him kind of that late developmental upside. I'm not overly impressed with Antonio Thompson. Harold Perkins is boom or bust. He is a rare athlete, but no clean position profile for him. When I was profiling LSU a year ago, going into the draft, I really liked Perkins. And then his testing numbers came out and his measurements came out. I think he had 8-inch hands and sub 31-inch arms, or pretty close to 31-inch arms, so pretty small frame. He's a space defender and probably a core special teams player, but pretty small. Perkins is pretty small. I really liked his effort, but I think that he's boom or bust. And then Owanya is a tackle to guard projection with developmental options. Obviously his experience is a little bit light. Profiles as a guy that's coming in for interior competition, but don't expect much. As far as DraftKings goes, the predicted outlook has a lot of upside for Atlanta this year because of the roster added offensive pieces, the defensive speed, and several draft swings with immediate role potential. I don't see a lot of role potential here. Obviously, I think Daniels is going to be the best pick. Branch is obviously going to find his way onto the field, and Terrell's probably going to be a starter for them. Honestly, though, DraftKings still remains very skeptical, as do I, putting Atlanta as a long shot for a playoff team despite a better roster. And the better roster is where I'm having a hard time here. Their number one free agent was a kicker in Nick Folk at $9 million. Nick Folk. Their second best free agency option was Jake Bailey, a punter, at $9 million. And then right tackle Juwan Taylor, who's been one of the worst right tackles in the league for a long time. And then Olamide Zacchaeus from Chicago. That was actually a good pickup. He was underutilized in Chicago, but I don't think he's going to find his niche there in Atlanta either. 2-year deal to get it right. Austin Hooper at least gives them some options in the tight end room. Cam Thomas, the edge, he's good. He was okay as a Brown, but I don't know how beneficial he's going to be in Atlanta. Deshaun Hand, the former Charger, was the other pickup. Samson Ekubom might have been their best free agency pickup. And then outside of that, I mean, there's just a handful of And then Azeez Ojulari, I think they stole him. A $1.5 million deal. I'm still surprised that he's not in Detroit. And then Channing Tindall, the linebacker, hasn't done a ton. And then they also added Tua Tagovailoa. So I don't know what their plan is at quarterback, but it's not going to be great. At the end of the day, DraftKings says 8-9 plus 7.5 over under. I'm sorry, 7.5 over under, plus 300 in the playoff, and plus 12,000 to make a Super Bowl. So if you look at the last, 3 or 4 teams here, you have in the NFC South, they projected the Bucs to go 9-8, the Panthers to go 8-9, the Saints to go 8-9, and the Atlanta Falcons to go 8-9. I had the Bucs at 10-7. I had the Panthers at 10-7. I have the Saints at 9-8, and I have the Falcons at 8-9. I also gave them a D+ for their draft. A D+. You had them at what? A C? What was your grade?
Yeah, C.
A C. And then what was your record prediction?
7-10.
Honestly, 7-10. 7-10 sounds better than what I'm giving them at just under 8-9. So there you go. How does that rank for you then? So you have the Saints going 1.
Yep, and then the Panthers,
Then the
Bucs,
Panthers,
and the Falcons.
The Bucs, and the Falcons. Well, for me, it's gonna go. Where am I at? The Bucs. They're at 1. The Panthers. They're at 2. Saints, they're at 3. Falcons, they're at 4.
Hey, Will?
Yeah.
My delivery guy is here, so I'm going to have to get rolling. It's after the 11 o'clock hour. Great show today. Awesome interview last night. And I won't be back until next Tuesday because I'm going to be down at the Kalamazoo Rock Gem and Mineral Show. So I will see all of you next Tuesday.
All right, just give us your rank for the last 4. Where do they end up?
For the NFC West?
Yeah.
I got the Seahawks at 13-4, the Rams at 11-6, the Cardinals at 10-7, and the 49ers at 7-10. They're falling back off this year.
And that's your 1 to 4, right? So Hawks,
Yeah.
Rams, Cardinals, 49ers.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, we'll see you next week, man. Have a good show. All right, I got to find my overlay. Hold on here. Oh, we'll just roll with this one for today. Give me one brief second to fix something here. Okay. Yeah, I'll fix these all up later on today. Got a lot more work to do on these things. So the NFC West. Got to make sure I get this one done today. And all this will be in an article too, so I'll try to get it out. I'll probably just get it out today, and we'll just review the rest of it tomorrow, the next day, whatever. NFC. Here we go. They're last for me. So NFC West. We'll start with Arizona Cardinals. I mean, Cardinals, they jumped out early and started their draft, I think with a bang. You know, I flirted with Jeremiah Love going to the Cardinals in a couple of mock drafts. And then as more rumors started to cloud my better judgment, I went against it. And I don't know why I decided to go against it. But I really like the beginning of their draft with Jeremiah Love and Chase Besantis. I think those are two really good picks for them. The quarterback and Carson Beck, I think they took him way too early, but the Cardinals just don't have a ton going on in the quarterback room. And when I look at their depth chart, give me 1 second to pull that up. There we go. Where'd it go? Oh, they're at the top. When I look at the depth chart, trying to solidify the moves they made and what they have left on this roster, they have Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, and now Carson Beck. And quite honestly, out of all three of those quarterbacks, Carson Beck could end up winning the job. I mean, I understand that Jacoby Brissett is supposed to be this bridge. And Gardner Minshew, I mean, wherever he goes, he seems to play fairly well, but not for long. It seems like he has a couple of good games, and then it all falls apart. I think Carson Beck could end up beating out Jacoby Brissett. We'll see. We'll see what happens there, but that's just not a great quarterback room. Cardinals look to be tanking again in 2026. I gave them a C+, which is kind of rough for their draft. Easily, I could give them an A just because of the consensus was C+, which is rough for their draft. But I would tend to agree that their draft wasn't great. It was full of a lot of reaches, and Jeremiah Love was the only one that I felt belonged in the conversation in the first round with that pick, number 3 overall. Chase Besantis, like I said, good pickup. I think he's probably going to play immediately. He's a volume experienced guard with uneven efficiency, clear scheme splits for him. The pass protection is usable, but the gap run work needs a major jump, which is surprising that they would take him versus others when you're bringing in Jeremiah Love. Like that's the part that didn't line up for me early. And then Carson Beck, like I said, big time reach. He's an experienced quarterback. I think he has clean mechanics. I think he has game manager traits, but I don't know that Arizona's in a game management position just yet. The concern is the arm talent, especially after the UCL surgery, which may limit his NFL season and long-term ability in the NFL. Caleb Proctor, small school interior disruptor with explosive rush ability, and I think that his 2025 production is suppressed. I think that he gives Arizona some late, it's not so much late, pick 104, but I think it gives them some real versatility with what they can do on the defensive line with Caleb Proctor. I think he's going to be fun to watch, honestly. I think he's going to be one of the more exciting guys out of this draft. And then Virgil. He's a high-floor Z receiver with alignment flexibility, strong hands, ceiling's limited, but he can block and provide depth. Linebacker Carson Schwarrer out of Iowa. Don't know a ton about this guy, but the research that I did said that he's definitely a special teams ready linebacker with 1 year defensive starting experience. So he's probably core special teams at best right now. And then Williams, the developmental tackle, late on day 3, Jaden Williams out of Mississippi. Again, I don't know a touch about him. He has swing tackle versatility potential. He just has to prove himself in the protection early in his career. As far as DraftKings, the prediction by them says that Arizona added one of the most explosive players in the draft, obviously in Jeremiah Love, but DraftKings also feels that the Cardinals are near the bottom of the league, and I tend to agree. Chase Besantis might improve the run game structure if he can get his zone game under control. Carson Beck gives him a developmental option at quarterback, but really nobody, to begin the season that you feel comfortable with. The issue is still that this roster lacks enough premium defensive and offensive answers to really give them a major jump in competition inside their own division. DraftKings projects them at 5-12, maybe a 4.5 plus or minus win total, plus 2,000 to even make the playoffs, and plus 40,000 to make the Super Bowl. That's got to be one of the lowest ranks I'm going to go one better than DraftKings. I think that Jeremiah Love is going to win a couple of games for him just on his own accord. I'm going to go 6-11. And I gave them a C-, not a C+. So I went a little bit less than consensus on their draft. Love Jeremiah Love. He's an A, AAA, but everybody else after that, I mean, Caleb Proctor, I would give a B-. Carson Beck, I'd give an E. Chase Basantis, I'd give probably a C+. And then the rest of the guys, I mean, it is what it is. But there was better players available than that. Let's go to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, did they do enough? Right? That's the question. Did they do enough? I don't think they did. The consensus gave them a D. I was a bit surprised at the D, but then again, when you look at what they did, kind of makes sense. They had 8 draft picks this year. They had 2 in the top 85. They had 3 in the top 150, or 4 in the top 150. Wide receiver Denzel Stribling out of Oklahoma State. This was a shocker. An absolute shocker. I just don't know what they're thinking here. He's a perimeter target with size and catch point potential. San Francisco needs him to separate more. I don't see it. The pick doesn't make any sense. Edge, Elijah Roberts, and maybe I'll have to eat some crow on that one, but it just doesn't make sense. Elijah Roberts out of SMU at pick 85. I'd have to say there were other players available. But he's an edge defender that maybe gives them rotational rush value, and he's high developmental player. The ceiling really depends on his bend and counters and early down toughness, which really doesn't exist with him. He doesn't have a ton of counters. He doesn't have a big pass rush tool bag. And then Helms. Caden Helms, a tight end out of Oklahoma. This one I'm a little bit higher on, but he's tight end depth as well. With receiving flashes, blocking consistency is going to be a problem for him early, and he'll need to define that to make sure that his roster path is, or that he'll be able to make the roster this year. He'll be able to make it. But what I'm trying to say is that he'll be able to help this roster win early. Then Saab, safety with size, range, and starting flashes. But there's a lot of consistency issues with tackling. He was someone that was not on my radar at all. When evaluating the safeties this year, he is someone that I completely put off my board as draftable. Now, he is from Alabama. Maybe that gave him a little bit of a bump in his draft grades with others, but I just see a lot of consistency and tackling issues for him. Did not intrigue me at all. And then Enrique Cruz, out of Kansas Jayhawk, former Kansas Jayhawk tackle, big developmental player. Cornerback Dorian Strong out of Virginia, another developmental player. And then the halfback Fluff Bothwell out of South Alabama at pick 238. I think with his last 3 picks, you're just looking at guys that you're trying to eventually add to a roster, probably practice squad players at best. DraftKings agrees for the most part. They have the San Francisco 49ers remaining like a contender, but mixed draft reviews. Dejon Stribling adds receiver size. Romello Height gives them burst. Grayson Halton gives them interior disruption. DraftKings still sees that the 49ers may be a double-digit win team this year with strong playoff odds, pretty much because of the rest of their division isn't stacked outside of Seattle. So if you have those 2 teams that finished at the top, they're not as stacked as some of the other rosters in the rest of their division. I don't see it. I don't see how they could be a playoff team this year. I would agree that their draft was not as good as it could have been. I don't even have them making the playoffs this year. I really don't. I don't see how they're 11-6. I don't see how they're plus minus 10.5. I would say the minus on the 10.5. I don't see how they're a negative 165 playoff odds, to be honest with you, and plus 1,600 to make the Super Bowl. If you look at what their main points of their draft were, they added size in the receiver room. They may have added edge burst with Romello Height, but I think he's a little bit light. I think he gets pushed around too often. They added interior disruption with Grayson Halton, and then their offensive line depth with Carver Willis and Enrique Cruz. Hold on here. I think I got one pick wrong. Yeah, I don't know how I got this pick wrong. I think I transposed some information here. So let me go back and reread this. They brought in Dejon Stribling, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Romello Height out of Texas Tech. Love that pick. Kalon Black was the running back. I don't know where I got Fluff Bothwell from. Grayson Halton, the defensive lineman. Defensive lineman. Offensive line, Carver Willis. Cornerback, Ephesians Prysock. Linebacker, Jaden Duger. And offensive lineman, Enrique Cruz Jr. San Francisco traded down a couple of times in the first round. They improved the stockpile, mid-round draft capital they kind of added to their availability for picks. Look, Stribling, I don't see it. Like, again, I don't see this pick. I think it was a huge reach. They needed size and speed, great, but come on, much better picks available. Even though they added, players, when I go to their free agency pickup, they added players like Mike Evans. Did they really need the size and the speed when you bring in Mike Evans? They brought in Dre Greenlaw. They brought in Nate Hobbs. They brought in, where's the other one? Christian Kirk. There's the other receiver they brought in. So I felt that they did fine in the receiver room. I just don't see them as stacked of a roster as the rest of their division. You still have to compete with the Rams, and you still have to compete with the Seahawks. And for me, the Rams and the Seahawks are on top of this division without a doubt. The Rams do concern me a little bit with their receiver room, and then taking a quarterback, obviously with their first pick in the first round. I think that was the absolute worst move in history. They had so many more options, and Ty Simpson is not, in my opinion, not going to be the guy. And he's not going to help them win this year. So I don't understand it. I really don't. At the end of the day, for the 49ers, I don't know how I added these names in here. I do things when I'm sleeping sometimes. At the end of the day, I gave them a C-. I didn't like their draft. I really didn't. I thought Kalon Black was a good pickup, and I thought Grayson Halton's a decent pickup. I think Ephesians Prysock, he's got a long way to go. I think the linebacker has a long way to go, and I think Enrique Cruz has a long way to go. I just don't see how they really added to their team this year, and if they really felt that their roster was ready to compete, let's take a look at their roster real quick. Here we go. So Mike Evans, starter receiver, Ricky Pearsall, Christian Kirk, Trent Williams, who's older than dirt, is their left tackle, Connor Colby as their left guard, Jake Brendel as their starting center, Dominic Pooney. I still like Dominic Pooney. He was one of my favorites out of the 24 draft, especially for the Lions looking for guard help. They didn't do it, obviously. Colton McKivitz, their right tackle, and then George Kittle, their starting tight end. I'm surprised that they didn't add more to the tight end room early in this draft. With the age of Kittle, look, he's still producing, but with the age of Kittle, I guess I expected more out of the 49ers for that. But I'm glad they didn't. It just helps the Lions later. They still have Christian McCaffrey. They added Kalen Black. I thought Kalen Black was a great pickup. He was one of my favorite running backs in this draft. But on the defensive side of the ball, adding Romello Height and Grayson Halton, I think that Romello Height's gonna find the NFL is gonna be a much bigger task for him. I didn't like him at all in this draft process, and I may be one of the few that does it. And that Grayson Halton, look, I think that he's a fairly good player. He has decent size at 6'3", 293 pounds. He's a little bit undersized for a defensive tackle, but that could give him some more movement skills for the 49ers. But anyway, I'm going way too long on just the 49ers. C- consensus. I didn't go consensus. DraftKings 11-6 plus minus 10.5, 165 to make the playoff odds, and plus 1,600. So I'm going to go 10-7. I don't think they make the playoffs this year. I really don't. I have 10-7. I have them third. Let's go to Rams. Rams in the first round picked up Ty Simpson. Second round they picked up Max Clare. That would have been the choice for me if I was San Francisco. I would have figured out a way to get Max Clare in this draft. Like that to me would have been a great pickup had they done it. Hold on here. Pull this up. Okay, so Rams, Ty Simpson in the first, Max Clare in the second, Keegan Trost in the third, CJ Daniels in the sixth, and Tim Keenan in the third, the defensive tackle in the seventh. So Simpson, look, the post-Stafford era, when is that going to happen? Is that after this year? I mean, I clearly heard Sean McVay say that he could play into his 40s. Maybe it was just smoke, right? Maybe they were just trying to spread a little bit of smoke to get them off the trail of Ty Simpson. Well, maybe it worked. But at pick 13, you're taking Ty Simpson. I don't understand that play at all. I really don't. Max Clare is an amazing pickup for the Rams. I mean, they already use 13 personnel the most out of anybody in the NFL, and now they added another savvy wide receiver type tight end. With great hands, starter upside immediately. Blocking inconsistency is a problem for him, but I think his pass catching ability far outweighs his blocking inconsistency. Keegan Trost is actually a pretty good offensive tackle out of Missouri. Blocking in pass protection stands out for him the most. I think that he was pretty elite in 2025 with his efficiency ratings. Short arms create problems. Maybe you push him to the inside. Maybe you don't. But I think that the Rams here are betting on his production versus his measurables. All I'm going to say on that is Will Campbell. Go check out the Will Campbell tape from last year's Super Bowl, and that should scare the shit out of you. Daniels, he has older traits receiver. I don't know why I put it that way, but he has older traits, which I meant more developed traits. With contested catchability and toughness, long speed, and yak limited his ceiling the most. But round 6, why didn't they take a receiver earlier with the whole Puka Nacua stuff going on? Maybe they're going to use Max Clare in that position instead. Keenan, he's a power nose tackle, built for run defense, and he has to develop more rush counters to expand that role. So overall, the consensus for DraftKings had the Rams at 12-5, plus or minus 11.5, minus 300 in playoff odds, and plus 800 to make the Super Bowl. So they clearly feel like the Rams are the Super Bowl favorite this year, and they are, according to DraftKings. Even though their draft was debated, you think, the market still views the Rams as a very strong title contender. Look, I think that they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think that they're going to win the Super Bowl unless their defense takes them the distance. I don't see it for them this year. But for the Rams, they're not going to like my grade at all. Even though I like Max Clare and I think Trost is a pretty decent tackle, I gave them a D+. And as far as record goes this year, Matthew Stafford is going to win a couple of games with his arms. But who did they bring in this draft class that's going to help them win some games? Their WAA added. I don't know how it's 1.383 and they rank 9th. I really don't know how, unless they're giving Ty Simpson all the credit here. He's not even going to play. He shouldn't play. I don't know how that rank is so high. I really don't. Taking a look at their roster and what they did this season, in free agency, they did sign the cornerback Jalen Watson. Like, again, their defense is going to be everything. They stole Grant Stewart from us. That was a great pickup. He's going to be a special teams nightmare for us. Outside of that, they didn't do much. They lost Kobe Durant, Akello Witherspoon, Roger McCreary, Tutu Atwell, Darian Kendrick, not a big deal. Nick Hampton, not a big deal. Overall on their roster, gotta find them. Overall on their roster, their offense looks like this. Devontae Adams, he's aging. Could be productive this year, maybe not. Puka Nacua, I have no idea what's going on with that guy. If he has anything going on, substance-wise, this could be an interesting season for him. Could be a season that you see him totally drop off the face of the earth. Jordan Whittington, that's their slot receiver. He's pretty decent. Alaric Jackson, left tackle. Steve Avila, left guard. Coleman Shelton, center. Kevin Dotson, really good right guard. Warren McClendon on the right side of the offensive line. Colby Parkinson, Tyler Higbee, now Max Clare, and Terrence Ferguson. That is some of the best tight ends you're going to find anywhere in the league. Of course, Matthew Stafford starting quarterback, and then Kyron Williams, they're starting running back with Blake Corum backing him up. Their defense, I'm not even going to go through it. Their defense is insanely good. They are stacked just about everywhere as far as starters, and they added Trent McDuffie to the mix and Jalen Watson. Like, their back end is, if they're going to go to the Super Bowl, it's going to be because of their defense this year. It's not going to be because of the offense. But anyway, I gave them a D+ for the draft, but I'm going to put them at 11-6 on the season. I would like to put them at 10-7, but I'm going to put them at 11-6. I don't think that they win 12 games at all. I don't think they win 13 either. Last but not least for the day, Seattle Seahawks. Okay. Seattle Seahawks. One sec. I just got to reply to this email real quick. All right, Seattle Seahawks in the first round, they took running back Jadarian Price. This was a phenomenal pickup. So they lost Walker. I forgot where he went now. Where did he go? The Chiefs, I think. So they lost Kenneth Walker. who's a phenomenal running back in his own right. But Jadarian Price is kind of like that perfect mock to Kenneth Walker. And who knows what he's really going to be like and how he does compare or doesn't compare to Jeremiah Love. I mean, the guy was suppressed on the depth chart because of Jeremiah Love. He's got low usage, phenomenal ability. Jadarian Price is going to be a special running back in this league, and I think that's without a doubt. He's going to have a good year. Bud Clark they brought in the second round, pick 64, safety. I was not high on at all, so we'll see where this develops. It couldn't be for a better defense, a very well-suited defense here for Bud Clark. And then they brought in one of my favorite corners in this class, next to the safety corner of Jelon Kilgore, Julian Neal. Julian Neal, I think, is going to shock a lot of people. And then again, what a perfect fit to a defense here in Seattle. I hate giving Seattle this much credit, but man, they really knocked it out of the park with this draft. Clark is going to give them safety range, ball skills, coverage ability, but I'm a little bit less on the ceiling for this guy. I think he is about where he is. Julian Neal is one of the more interesting picks, especially in this draft class. I think that he was a standout at Arkansas. We know that. But 55 tackles, 2 interceptions, and a very strong combine really boosted his stock. He gives Seattle another long, competitive corner with a developmental arrow in his future that is going straight up. Between the two and what Seattle already has on that defense, they just reloaded probably in the best way possible. In the 5th round, they brought in Bo Stevens, a guard, wide receiver Emmanuel Henderson. In the 7th round, they brought in Andre Fuller, who's another interesting prospect. I wasn't as high on Andre Fuller as a lot of people were, but he went a little bit later too, into the 7th round. Nose tackle, Devin Eastern. Cornerback, Michael Dansby. Clearly, this is a team that values the secondary. Why Brad Holmes didn't bring in a safety is beyond me. It really is. I look, we have some players in the room. I get it, but what we don't have is the future. And not addressing the safety class this year for Brad Holmes has me extremely concerned for what's about to happen this season. If we go down, with safeties again this year because of Kirby, and we didn't bring anyone to back him up, then I'm going to be pissed at Brad Holmes. So anyway, the Seahawks. I thought they did a fantastic job in this draft, especially early. I mean, Jadarian Price, Bud Clark, Julian Neal, even Stevens. See how that worked out? He's a tone-setting interior offensive line pick. I think that Iowa's program has produced several really good draftable players in this draft, and he's a guard. He's going to give Seattle guard depth with toughness in the run game. His first path is interior depth, but he also has the physicality to compete for a meaningful backup role. Henderson, developmental receiver, special teams, availability here for him for sure. Very athletic profile, gives him a chance. Fuller, 7th round corner, competitive pick. I think that the value in his game is the length and the ball production upside. Definitely a camp competition here. May not make the roster. Could see a post 90-man cut deal or steal for the Lions if they really valued Andre Fuller and he doesn't make the roster. I would assume that they would probably try to bring him in, but we'll see. That's if they really valued Andre Fuller, and then putting him in that defense, throughout training camp. I think a lot of teams are probably going to snatch him up if he does get cut, because coming from that defense, you're going to learn a ton on how to attack the quarterback. Overall, I think the consensus on the Seahawks was a C-, and I don't see it. I just don't see it. I think that this was a phenomenal draft for them. Coming off of a Super Bowl, still maintaining, picks in the first 3 rounds. I think they did an excellent job. The first 4 picks alone solidified a B plus for me. After the 6th, 7th round picks, they don't move the needle for me. I'm evaluating the first 3 rounds, and that gave me a B plus for them. The DraftKings, however, says that Seattle still remains one of the top teams in the DraftKings market after winning the Super Bowl. Jadarian Price gives the run game a new lead option. Bud Clark adds safety playmaking ability. And the Seahawks added multiple corners for depth. DraftKings has Seattle with elite playoff odds and one of the shortest Super Bowl prices in the league. They're at plus 950 to go to the Super Bowl, minus 260 to make the playoffs. 11-6 projected record with a plus minus 10.5. Main reasons, they got better. They added running back replacement. They added safety playmaker. They added multiple corners for depth with one that I think is going to be really good for them in Julian Neal. And then they reinforced their championship roster from a season ago. This season really hinges on Sam Darnold. Can he run it back? It's not likely. Doesn't happen very often. Can he have a three-peat where he has 3 terrific seasons in a row? His confidence has never been higher. I have the Seahawks winning that division. But I'm not going to go crazy high in a win total. I'm going to go 12-5. They have a first place schedule. And I think it's going to be tough. But there's some teams that they play that are not so tough. So 12-5, B plus, first in the division. Running it back. So right now, the NFC looks like this. There's got to be a way that I can just disengage. I need to get my other mic hooked up. So I have a mic that I can carry with me, or I'll put a lapel mic on or something. Here's what it looks like for me. Eagles, Lions, Bucks, Seahawks. Those are going to be 1 through 4 seed in the NFC. Cowboys, Packers, Panthers, Rams. Those are the 4 teams that are going to make up the rest of the NFC this year. And they're going to be battling out for, the last 3 spots. I'm pretty confident that's the way it's going to shake out. We'll see. This is the way too early. Way too early. We'll see what happens when we get towards the end of the season. But that's it for today. I get out of here. I really strung this one along way too long. But we started late. We're going to get back to a regular schedule next week. And tomorrow is up in the air. Oh, may not be getting back to a regular schedule next week. I forgot. I might be taking like a week to 10 days off. I'll let you guys know probably by Friday what the plan is. It all depends on weather. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. We will be back tonight. Last night I was just cashed out. Too much stuff going on. But I got a lot of work to do today, so we'll see. I'm planning on getting on tonight to kind of go through a few things. But enjoy the rest of your day. You guys have a lot to be excited about with the Lions making sure that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be around. A lot to be excited about with Jack Campbell in what should be at least a 4-year deal right around the corner. The Lions did an excellent job in their draft, and I think some of these teams didn't do so hot, and some of the teams that really needed to do well didn't do well. It's the teams that did do well that scare me the most, given the fact that they already had good rosters. And honestly, when you look back at what I just went through over the last couple of days, the NFC is going to be, the NFC North is going to be pretty tough sledding, man. I think that it's going to be locked up, 8, 9, 10, and 7, kind of a year for 3 of these teams. It's going to be interesting. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.